All right. Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the ONG Strike Zone. And as you can see, it's just me. It's just me. There's no Marcus. There's no Kelvin. My brothers have left me all alone to run the ship. It's bad enough that I have to produce this show, but now y'all have to listen to me do all the talking. Just kidding. It won't be like that for long, I promise. And I do have some guests. We have some guests lined up. Kelvin and Marcus are on assignment, taking care of some business. I believe one or both will be joining us in hour number 2. Might even have, we definitely have some other guests joining in hour number 2. But hour number 1, it'll be primarily me. And I'll also be joined by GT3, Gerald Thomas III. Gerald and I will chop it up for a good little bit. Lots of athletics-related news to talk about, whether you want to get into the most recent football scrimmage, as we are 10 days away from the Orange and Green spring game. And I believe they have scrimmage number 2 coming up. So we'll get a chance to talk to them about that. Let me check my volume here. I appreciate the heads up here. Let me figure out what's going on with the volume situation. Check 1, 2, 3. Give me a thumbs up if you all can hear me at the volume sounds any better. Got to get all my computer settings right. I'm kind of rushing in, getting things squared away here. So you guys give me a heads up here. I'm kind of checking all my audio settings. Looks like maybe I should be okay. All right, Edwin, I appreciate you checking in. Good. Might need to turn it up a little bit on your end. I appreciate everybody coming in early. Make sure when you guys are coming in, check in. Let me know where you're from. Some of you, of course, we already know where you're checking in from, but we always have some new listeners, so we always want to hear from the newbies who are coming in. So we appreciate everyone. As I was saying, coming up in hour number 1, GT3, Gerald Thomas III from the Tallahassee Democrat, FAMU beat reporter, is going to be joining me. And we're going to talk. We got everything from the football scrimmages. How are the guys looking? He's out there covering the team on a daily. Also, big weekend in Tallahassee as the men and women on the Diamonds got a sweep. FAMU baseball and softball doing damage and moving into first place in the baseball and softball conference and division standings. Of course, softball's not quite doing what the baseball side of things are doing, where everybody plays everybody. So they're still doing the division thing. Baseball is just, top seeds or rotisserie style, I guess, if you want to call it that way, where you're playing 10 of the 11 potential opponents in the conference. So we'll talk about the great weekend by the baseball program. Tennis went out to, I believe they were in Birmingham, Montgomery. They were somewhere in Alabama. I can't remember or recall which one, but they won 2 of 3 matches, which was good. A tough 7. They lost 4-3 in the one match that they did lose to Jackson State. So we'll talk about that. Their season is coming towards the finale of the regular season with a matchup against Bethune-Cookman, and then it'll be the SWAC tournament. I'm not sure we have a chance at winning the regular season, but we have a chance at probably maybe a 2 or a 3 seed, which will be a good placement, I think, and still give us a chance to get to the championship match for, I believe, the third consecutive year, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody feel free to correct me if I'm off on that. And then, of course, the basketball news just continues to be mind-blowing. New transfer. Look, we did a whole show last week called Portal Madness. And I appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody who tuned in last week, who were a part of it, whether you watched it on replay, wherever you watched it from. I mean, what a show. That has only expanded since that show, as new names have entered the portal. Some mind-blowing, some names that for some people, I don't know what that is a signal to or about, but it even brings up greater questions that I think we all need to ask about the student athlete experience for men and women's basketball players. Is it just a sign of the times? Is it the new normal? Or is there something else? Only one of the, I think the number between the 10 men and the 7 women, only one has found a new home. Only one. And so we'll talk about that. Yes, but while all that's happening, we do have a new commitment on the men's side, and it does mean a signal towards a bright future ahead. And even though I'm saying this, that even though we have not officially got the confirmation that I think so many of us are looking for regarding our men's basketball program, I think the fact that our coach and coaching staff are out recruiting, that they had recruits in town this weekend, and that we did get a new commitment, I think that is the sign. Okay, so it is what it is, so we're rebuilding the new norm. It is what it is. So we got so much to talk about. Also coming up in, I don't know, maybe 24 hours, 48, 36 hours, I think. It's the FAMU Day of Giving. 1887 strikes will begin. That's right. It'll begin on the 3rd and 4th. But I think the fact that AD Suggs, who will be on the show at the bottom of hour 2, AD Angela Suggs, VP of Intercollegiate Athletics, will be on the show. She sent me the graphic, so I got to believe this is real. So we don't have to wait. We can make unprecedented, record-breaking numbers for FAMU Athletics. And so here's the first of many times that I will be promoting this, and that by texting FAMU Athletics, and I believe that is all one word, to 71777, you can begin the giving. So nobody has told me that, hey, you can't start giving now, folks. So if you're feeling so inclined, if you're giving to our show and you're like, hey, while I'm in the giving mood, I want to give to FAMU Athletics now, you can go ahead and begin. But if you want to wait till she comes on at the bottom of hour 2, you can go ahead and do that as well, because I know she will, and we'll talk about it. And there's all kinds of things we can talk about with her. AD Suggs is an open book, and she'll tell us what she can tell us, and we'll go from there. So lots to talk about, lots to get off of our chest and discuss, debate. I appreciate all of you guys. Please make sure you're following the ONG StrikeZone everywhere that we are. And we say hello to all of the friends on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, YouTube, however and wherever you might be watching us. You could be watching us on the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page, My JBN Online. And, that's where a lot of you are. So that's where the chats and the conversation will begin for me as I say hello to the family coming in. And then coming up here very shortly, GT3, Gerald Thomas III will be joining the show. Let me get the first one in the building and say hello to Ken, Alice. What up, fam? Good to see you, family. Thanks for being the first one in, checking in. Marvin Allen from Duval County. Good to see you, Marvin. Thank you for checking in. Bull comes in as well early. Thank you, Bull, for checking in. Jimmy Mack, a JBN subscriber. Jimmy Mack, thanks for subscribing and being a part of the BCSN family. We appreciate you and everything that you do to support us. Ashton Harris, good to see you, Ashton. Hope you're well. Meredith, another JBN subscriber. Hey, Meredith, thank you for checking in. Appreciate you. And Marcus as well. Marcus up in Macon, Middle Georgia, checking in as well. Thanks for being a JBN subscriber. Ezekiel Love, good to see you, Zeke. Appreciate you. B Starks in A. Good evening. Thank you for being a JBN subscriber. My favorite basketball analyst, live for hoops or die lonely, as I like to tell you. Good to see you, Liv. Great interview that she did the other day with, oh my God, why can't I think of names escape me? But it was a great interview she did with HBCU legends, Kyle, over there, and a good interview there. Little Baby checking in. Good to see you, Little Baby. Thank you for checking in. Tamara T, thank you for being a JBN subscriber. Gail, hey Gail, another JBN subscriber. Good to see you as well. Glad to see you checking in, Edwin, even with the earbuds in. I know you're heading into a meeting, so always love. Appreciate you. Mr. Campbell, Steve Campbell checking in. Good to see you. Appreciate you. Tim Young on Facebook. Appreciate the check-in. Always a pleasure. Ron Jab Williams also on Facebook. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Alice McCullough in the 561 down in South Florida, Palm Beach, checking in. Good to see you. Good to see you as well. Demetra checking in. Hey, Demetra. Good to see you. All right. Jeffrey, don't be sad, Jeffrey. The other guys will be in here shortly. I know you might have tuned in for Kelvin or Marcus or somebody other than me, but I promise they will be on the show as well. Bear with me just a second. I was trying to, I didn't send out the tweet from our ONG StrikeZone page, about the show. So those of you on X, and then of course, I got to send it out as well from my own personal Twitter handle. Some great conversations that are being had out in X on Twitter. So, always some good stuff there. Let me get one more post here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get ready to bring in GT3 here as he and I are going to chop it up for a bit. All right. Did I leave anything off? Kind of doing my check here. The Saint checking in. Good evening, Rattler, checking in from Fort Lauderdale. Good to see you. All right. Appreciate you. Thanks for checking in and being part of the family tonight. Also, I want to give a shout out to William Murray, who checked in with us, hit us up on email, made a nice contribution to the show. We appreciate you. Got some good questions that we're going to try to resolve, and talk about. So appreciate you and always appreciate your support. You can always send us an email, ongstrikezone@gmail.com. If you have a question, or maybe you have something that you want us to cover or talk about, feel free to send that. Carrie Daniels also getting in. I want to get these last couple of shout outs in. So appreciate you, Carrie, from checking in from Duval. Dance Girl, what up, fam? Appreciate you. Thank you for checking in with us. All right. Doc Blount BTN on IG Kessia Lynn and Hassan Cruz 13. Also, a couple people checking in on IG. Let me bring in GT3, none other than FAMU Thomas the third, as Gerald kind of gets his audio situation squared away.
I'm here.
Okay, thought you were ready. G, what up, Gerald? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm doing well, man. I see they left you high and dry today, but you holding it down.
Look, I'm in good hands. I got you joining in, and you saw the bat signal go up, and you answered the call, man. So that's love. I definitely appreciate that. Otherwise, these folks will have to listen to me rant for about 30 minutes until the top of the hour.
Yeah, man. Anytime you need me, man, I'm happy to be back on the OG StrikeZone.
Yeah, man. Oh, well, we've got a lot of stuff to go through. I mean, this is always the busy season. I think once we kind of hit February, it feels like from February until like the end of the school year, April, it's probably the most active time in collegiate athletics. I mean, because you've got basketball that's really ramping up toward the postseason. You got the start of baseball and softball. You got tennis full swing. You got golf going on. You got spring football going on. I mean, man, it is a potpourri. I probably left something off, and I might have. It's like a potpourri of stuff. You almost can't keep up with it, man. So for reporters like you, who your job is to cover FAMU, how are you keeping up with everything?
It's definitely a lot, man. First of all, I mean the spring practices. That's enough within itself. Just having to you got to be committed to get up early for those. So but that's something that I've been doing for the last couple of years. So I'm kind of used to it. You kind of got to reacclimate to it around twice a year when the season starts and during the springtime. So when February starts, it's like, in a few weeks I'm about to start getting up early again, and then when you get to August, like I'm about to start having to get up early again. So, but it's all good. Was able to go out to baseball last week and stop by baseball practice. I'll be at baseball tomorrow too. So, just you don't want to overextend yourself, but you ain't gonna be able to make it nowhere. But I'm making it happen.
Man, look, I don't know. Are you in charge of has Coach Posey put you in charge of bringing in any coffee or anything? Or did they have coffee for you when you're arriving that early in the morning, man? What's it? And what time are you showing up at 6? Are you showing up at 5:30? What is check-in time for you and the team?
Well, I personally, I wake up about 6:30, but they practice at 7:00 now. So
okay, so moved it back an hour. So
yeah. So they practice at 7:00 and they getting the lights situated at Bragg, whatever. So they got to start a little late. But I personally wake up at 6:30. I wake up. I got to take my clothes out, for the night before because just so I don't be dragging, and sit down, eat me a little breakfast, and next thing you know, I'm at the stadium. So I don't think I really miss much when I get out there. They probably just be stretching and just running through drills. I like to see that teamwork. That's what I really see what's going on out there with the team. So I got a good routine, and it's been paying off. I've been able to see a lot these last few weeks.
All right. You guys in the chats, obviously a ton of sports related questions that you might have. So feel free to just drop them in the chat. And as we're having the conversation, I'll pull some of them up. Okay. So as we get into football, the first scrimmage, I believe that was last
Thursday.
Last week, Thursday. Is practice scrimmage number 2 happening tomorrow? Is that correct?
Tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow. Tomorrow they'll be having scrimmage number 2.
Okay. And you were able to attend the first scrimmage, correct?
Yeah, I was out there. Yep. Sure was.
So what, obviously those of you, I mean, we retweet all of the articles that G puts out there. Give us maybe something that as you watch from that scrimmage, let me start by just saying what was maybe your expectation or coach's expectation of that scrimmage, and then post that game, maybe a takeaway or two that maybe didn't make the printed copy or the digital copy, a major takeaway for you.
I'd say, I mean, the main thing going to the scrimmage, I think as a obviously I'm not a coach, but I mean, I would think that the coach want to know, can they be able to run the installs that they've put in those first 2 or 3 weeks before they actually scrimmage against each other. And he it seemed, when I talked to Coach Coles, it seemed like he walked away, pretty happy with what he's seen. Of course, coaches are never completely happy, but
Yep.
but I think he walked away, satisfied just off that first look of what the team was. And I mean, my major takeaway was, they want to run the ball. They want to run the ball, and with returning a guy like that, frankly, you also got Somerset back there. So I mean, you got your two leading rushers from the past season, and you're gonna have to lean on them a lot just because regardless of who play quarterback, it's going to be a new quarterback, no matter who gets that position. So, and you saw what they can do when they actually run the ball efficiently. You saw they put up 41 points against Bethune in the Florida Classic, and put up almost 30 against Alabama A&M in the season. So I mean, they got some continuity when it come there, but the defense looking good too. I was out there watching, and I was trying to figure out who was wearing number 40. It was somebody wearing a number 40 jersey out there, and he was getting tackles for loss and just getting in the backfield. And I was like, man, who is that? Everybody walked by, I said, who's number 40? Everybody kept saying they don't know. I don't know who number 40 is. end up being Westmoreland. Because he
Westmoreland.
Yeah, so he's in the process of changing his jersey number. Wow. So he was wearing the number 40 jersey. He's not wearing them. I'm trying to think what jersey number. I think he said
when he's 17. I thought he was 17 last season.
Well, he wearing number 40 at practice, but I think he said he changed his jersey to number 6. So he going through that process right now. So maybe it's another 17 that's going to be on the team this year. And so you had a 17 practice jersey. I'm getting number 6. But right now he wearing number 40 at practice, and he was doing the thing out there. I'm not gonna lie to you. I interviewed him, and he was out there moving. He was out there hyped for the defense.
When you think about now, it's practice, and we know the competition. I think because you've been there a couple years now, you can kind of compare and contrast, which is great for where this question is going. How do you compare what you've seen in the early first practices versus the last 2 seasons? And we know how the last 2 seasons went. So just to kind of throw out those expectations or disappointments that people may have, how do you compare your first look of this 2025 team compared to 24 and 23?
I mean, 23, them boys came out there knowing what they was going for. So it was just exuding a lot of confidence. You had a lot of players returning to that 23 team, and they, from then on, I was like, man, these boys might be playing in December. 2024, man, 2024. Honestly, it was rough. It was rough to gauge the team because they didn't have players like that. Like Cozy said, like around, this time last year, he had 58 players, 57, somewhere between 55 and 60. So, and then you had players who were entering the transfer portal during the spring. So, you kind of losing out on guys. And, even for example, like during the spring game last year, they bust out and had a 7-on-7 section just because you don't have enough guys to rotate the team. It wasn't no spring game draft or anything like that. So, you had, your Daniel Richardsons and your Kendall Bowles out there, but it was just like, where are the rest of the guys around the edges just because of, the coaching changes and just how, it was just for the times. This year, I see a team that I think Cozy says about 93 guys out there. And you got some veterans like James Ash coming out there, like I mentioned, Thad Franklin. So I mean, this team is kind of like they got a leg up on last year's team just because last year you didn't really know what you were getting because how many players the Coliseum have? 105, 110. Last season you ain't had half of that last year. So I think this year they got kind of more of a look at what what it can be on for the 2025 season.
Okay, that's good. Obviously, as Hollow asked, how the quarterback looking? I mean, that's the number one question as always, and it's the first question that came up. I'm curious about it. Let's go ahead and get that story out of the way. What's the quarterback situation look like? I mean, we do have. I'm gonna gear back. How's the quarterback situation looking? I'm gonna just stop there.
Y'all mostly want me to get shunned at practice or something. Y'all mostly want me to get banned. But nah. All just whenever I ask coach about the quarterbacks, it's always I see Keith in the comments. But
Keith knows where I was about to go. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, when I go off when I ask them about the quarterbacks, because I don't want, I'm trying to still have my credentials to get into practice. So I mean, but
what you see, because when you ask, you're gonna get coach speak, and so I'm asking what you see. You don't have to tell us nothing about what the coaches said, because I love Coach Cozy, but I'm not expecting him to be very diplomatic, or he's gonna be very vanilla.
Yeah.
Right. He's not gonna tip any kind of hand or give no kind of hint. I want to know what you see between those guys out there.
Yeah, I mean, they competing. I mean, it's not always the same guy running with the one. So I mean, it's an actual battle. I mean, Jefferson is the new guy in there. So I mean, he's been getting a lot of reps. During his last scrimmage, he was able to move the ball down the field a little bit, and then he adds that extra dynamic of being able to run. And FAMU really hasn't had a dual threat quarterback in a minute. So I mean, he adds that. He left-handed. He me and him part of the lefty game. The ball spin a little different. I've seen him throw some darts. I'm not gonna lie. I've seen him throw some nice balls. I mean, Junior's been there the past few years. And I've seen Junior throw some nice balls too. So I mean, all these guys are really getting first team reps with the team and with the scrimmage. I mean, I'm pretty sure both of them run with the ones tomorrow during the scrimmage, and kind of can gauge off of who's going, who's the offense responding better to off of them. And then, I mean, you got guys around it. It's even forgetting about the guy from Miami, Bryson Martin. He's out there, running the offense too. So I mean, it's open. I mean, it's open competition, and then around the edges you got Purcell and I'm forgetting somebody. Purcell and Traven Green. And I don't want to forget nobody coming after me, saying I'm stealing them. But I mean, you got a lot of different guys running the offense. So I mean, there's no decision gonna be made no time soon. I think we already know that, but I think quarterback heading in the right direction right now.
We've seen with Jefferson, and I think what's interesting for me is we've seen Seven, we've seen Murtovic, and for me, I always go back to the opportunities he's had, not really taking the opportunity that he had, taking it by a firm grasp and really owning it. Jefferson is new, exciting. Bryson is the one. Now he's the young man who actually was the last recruit at the request of Burris, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Bryson Moore. I think he came in a little late last, in that recruiting period. Maybe maybe like last summer before training camp.
Right, and so obviously, yeah. So I mean those. So I mean I don't, and so when do you do anything? Are you kind of just maybe mentally taking note of who's getting reps with the ones? Are you kind of charting it? I always imagine if I were fortunate enough to be there to cover FAMU every day like you, I'd be like right there with my notebook, kind of just charting who's getting the reps with the ones. I mean, are you doing that, or is that just me and my imagination, or how do you process all of that? The guys who's throwing interceptions, who's throwing touchdowns, who's throwing 20 yards. I mean, are you tracking all of that, or is that kind of a mental, just you're watching and?
I mean, it's half. I keep my notepad on me, so I mean, I'll be out there. I'll be out there taking notes. I mean, people throw interceptions sometimes, but like I said, I don't want to get my. I want to still be allowed to come to practice. But I mean, last week nobody was able to reach the end zone. The defense kept them out of the end zone last week. They were able to move the ball down the field, but they couldn't get in the end zone. So, I mean, right now everybody has 0 touchdowns for the spring when it comes to scrimmaging. So, but yeah, I
gotten into the end zone. Huh?
You said what now?
I said nobody's gotten into the end zone yet, huh?
Yeah, nobody got into the end zone in the scrimmage last week. So that may change. I was speaking with somebody on the staff. They said they think the offense gonna break it to them tomorrow. So we're gonna see if that holds up.
Mm-hmm. Let me, before I kind of ask you more about the defensive coordinator, defensive scheme, kind of go to one of the questions that I know Marcus wanted to make sure we asked. It had to do about the differences from 25 to 24. But I know we just talked about that a little bit, but maybe from that perspective of like physical attributes, alignments from the offensive defensive side, the talking, the communication, the leadership. What is different from last year to this year?
I think this year you have guys that maybe know their role. The guys that's returning maybe know their role a little bit more. I mean, because when you come in last year, when you got a first year coach, you don't really, you could be the guy with the last coach, but the new coach will come in, you might be, I ain't gonna say nobody, but you may not have that same that coach may not have that same allegiance that the previous coach had to you. So I mean, you got guys like Nayron Jenkins. That was one of the first things we talked about when spring started. Nayron Jenkins was talking about how important it is to lead the defense, because he was the guy that jumped on the scene for that defense last year, and now coming back, he's the oldest linebacker in the room. He's the returning starter. So it's just coming back doing that. And I mean, you got guys like James Ash, all SWAC performer. Back. I haven't even gotten a chance to even interview James Ash yet, but I mean, you got guys coming in to with roles. Wide receiver. I think that might be the deepest position group on the team. Defensive backs, man. Last year was no defensive backs out there, man. It was. That's why they had that's why they had to break out and play 7-on-7. In the middle of the spring game last year. So I mean, it's a lot of defensive backs. That's Cozy's forte. So I mean, it's those things. Of course they're gonna recruit some more guys. But yeah, I think the team, just from a makeup standpoint, looking well. Of course, they still got those speedy receivers. Jalen Rogers, he was a guy that signed on last year, but didn't get an opportunity to play. But what I've seen from him, he's been playing good. I've seen him, break that. He fast, man.
Yeah,
he is fast. I was watching. I said, man, they need to put him and Lockhart back there to return them kicks. And sure, they might even need to run a 2-man set for the punt returns too, just to make sure one of them get the ball. But yeah, so it's still kind of got a similar dynamic. Thad Franklin is more of that tall, bigger running back, and Stomerset is more of he's not necessarily short, but he's just smaller guy, but still a big guy that could be a power back at times too. And defense line always big guys. And linebacker and DBs athletic. So I mean they fit the look of a team, in my opinion.
You mentioned wide receivers. A wide receiver that stuck out to me from the spring of last year that we didn't see in the fall, Ja'Cory Jordan. Is he still on the ride? I thought I saw him, and
he's still out there.
He's still out there. Okay, still playing as a wide receiver, former quarterback, transferred to wide receiver. Okay, so that's awesome. Okay, so let me go over here and kind of get to the defensive side of the ball. You just posted a recent article talking about the leadership of Kenley Thompson, the new defensive. Well, he's I want to make sure I get it right. He's officially the defensive assistant defensive or co-defensive coordinator, or is he the sole defensive coordinator? What's the title for?
He is
Coach
the defensive He's the defensive coordinator.
Okay, so he came over from UAB.
Mhm.
It took us a while. We those of us who know, we knew about it for a minute, but
Yeah.
even when we had Coach Cozy on, we wanted to let the university kind of make the announcement, or let him make the announcement. So that all came out. So what's your takeaway from Coach Thompson? And have you had a chance to have any good conversations with him? I know you had the article. Scheme wise, are we going to be a little different? What are we going to do different? That's what everybody's excited to know. Everybody wants to know when somebody new comes in. There is, well, what are we going to change? Are we still going to run this 4-2-5 thing? Are we going to blitz more? What's the front going to look like? I'm just thinking of all the questions that I constantly hear about what FAMU's defense is going to be in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten a chance to speak with Coach Thompson, just because I I couldn't really interview him until he was ready,
Right.
or till his process was done with, with the hire and all that stuff. But I'm definitely most likely to speak with him before the season, before the spring ends. But I got a chance to talk to Nayron Jenkins about him a little bit. Just some side conversation. And I mean, I was watching, at the first spring practice, when he was out there, because coach, always said, he was already in the building. He just had to get the paperwork and all that stuff. So, I mean, I told Nayron, I said, man, it seems like he don't play. It seems like he don't play the radio. And Nayron was like, yeah. And he said, he's very detail oriented. So, I mean, he coming in with like 20 years of coaching experience. And been a assistant head coach and all this. I mean, so he seems like he's a guy that's going to be a leader. The main thing, that Coach Cozy has emphasized just with the defense is being able to stop that run. We all saw, it was uncharacteristic. How that happened last year. How the defense teams just was running all over the defense. On the ground, and you rarely saw that happen against a FAMU defense. So that's the main thing. As far as schematics and formations, can't really say, but I would say that he working with them linebackers. I don't say he gonna get the linebackers ready, and I think they're gonna try to get that rushing, get that defensive rushing game, defensive run stopping in order to under his leadership. And I mean, that might be what you need. I mean, he comes in and he may see it from a different lens as watching film from the past season, those things. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do with that defense there, and see what strides that they can make, within a 1 year span of, kind of having a down year, or not even kind of having a down year until now with a coordinator. And I mean, another thing is, what's going to be interesting is that all the coordinators are in their first year. I mean, Burris is in last season, but Burris is the sole offensive coordinator.
Right.
Kevin Weston, the special teams coordinator, his first year. Coach Thompson, first year. So I mean, Cole's got his guys in, but I mean, of course, it's going to be, guys are going to have to, acclimate, because I mean, it's their first year, in the program. But I'm excited to see how it's going to look, with kind of this new look coaching staff, and kind of see like Cozy's, fingerprints is all over the program now. So I'm ready to see how everything comes to fruition this year.
Yeah, that was the big takeaway when we had Coach on a couple weeks back. His emphasis, not just, hey, the appreciation for the other guys, but more so, hey, because of the timing, it wasn't a situation where, you had guys on that, yes, he worked with, but also, there's also that different relationship when and just think about this in any real life work situation, right? And I think you understand probably what Coach went through, right? You work with a bunch of people where you're equals, and then all of a sudden one of you becomes the head guy. And inevitably, just the human nature of us, of people, of man, right? That's not always going to, it's not always going to be rosy. It's not always going to be great. Y'all used to all go out at 5 o'clock and go get beers, and that's just, I'm not saying our staff is doing that, but you know what I'm saying? Used to always go hang out. Now somebody, the guy who's in the leadership role, guess what? He can't go hang with everybody like he used to. Now he's the leader, and sometimes that always creates some conflict sometimes, and so it's natural to hear him talk about having his people that are coming in because he selected them and not somebody else selected them and they're working with him. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're his guys. And so now this program is now officially James Colsey's program and not the previous administration, previous coaches program. It's now officially James Colsey's program. And so he will, we will now officially judge him and his staff on what they do now. And it's a fair judgment, I think, that we can all have now, right? And they can't have any questions about, oh, well, that's so-and-so's guy and blah, blah, blah. Nah, all that is out the window now, right?
Yeah. It's definitely a big year. And man, I feel like the SWAC is just getting better too. So I mean, it's a lot of last year. It was a lot of parity in the SWAC. Anybody could have came out of that thing. I mean, so I mean, I'm ready to see what, because I feel like this season right here might be the wild, wild west when it comes to SWAC football, just because you don't know who coming out.
No, you really, it is going to be interesting with the new coaches that have come in. I think. I'm trying to think. The oldest coach is Eddie.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it might be E-Rob.
And he's only 3 years in.
Yeah.
This might be his fourth. So I mean, third or fourth. So I mean, it is a relatively young league in terms of coaches. But I mean, there's some coaches that have some good resumes behind them, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they have recruited and what they do with the talent that they have, because I think that's going to be, it'll be fascinating to watch, when we get to SWAC Media Day, which, by the way, was announced July 16th, SWAC Media Day already. So we know the date. We can already start making plans and reservations now to be in Birmingham for that. Last football kind of question I want to ask you here is I'm kind of just going through here. Incoming freshmen. Now, there's 93 guys on this spring roster, but I don't think that includes all the freshmen. I know Coach had talked about the last time he was on the show that there were about 10 to 15 high school players that were still coming, that were part of the class of 2025. And that there were going to be some tough conversations with current players. How many, were there any early freshman enrollees that are out there or that you've been able to glean from what you've seen? Has Coach mentioned any other signings or anything like that?
I don't know if there are any. I don't know if there are any freshmen out there, early enrollment freshmen. And I haven't heard of any other signees either. I mean, some of those players may be preferred walk-ons. I believe I heard Colsey say he can't comment on preferred walk-ons until they actually get on campus and get enrolled in classes and those things. So, and like I said, I was speaking with a coach and I was like, yeah, it's going to be some hard conversations just off of some people may not be on the team. And that's a tough part about it. Even if it's a guy that won't actually get in the game or nothing like that. But it's this has been this guy's livelihood for the last, since he was 5, since whenever you were able to start playing little league football. And right now it's not a spot for him. But I mean, hopefully in that, maybe they can help guys find, different homes and things. Or I mean, I know it's been certain times where, a guy go missing for a year and then they on the team, the following year, they're back on the team. So So I mean, it's probably just got to be a little strategic with it, but yeah, those conversations definitely gonna be had. But I don't think there's no high schools out there right now. At least not the guys that I know for sure signed. I haven't seen them, but yeah. So that's where that's at right there.
Okay, all right. Let's transition over to the diamond for a moment because you mentioned you got a chance to go check out the baseball team. Did you make it over to the softball field as well?
I did make it over to softball this weekend. I think I'm gonna catch up with them next week. You know, with them being at home and all that stuff. You know, before the spring game and stuff. But yeah, I've been hanging out with baseball a little bit. I just was at the game on Sunday, went out to practice one of them days last week. But they doing the thing though, man. They doing the thing. What does it say? B2A. That's what they did to PV over the weekend.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Game 1 and 2. Game 1, 10. I think they only gave up a total of 3 runs. Game 1, 10-0, as you can see there. Game 2 on Saturday, 11-1. And then game 3, 7-2. So they only allowed 3 runs. I thought it was a great pitching performance overall. And I mean, you could go with any number of standouts. I know I was charting a lot of stuff. I mean, you had Caleb Granger throwing a 2-hit shutout, going to complete 7 innings. Garrett Workman on game 2 pitches 6 innings, allows 1 earned run. And then in game 3, Carson Kelly actually picked up sort of late in the first inning, but then carried on for another 5 innings, and he only gave up a run on 3 hits. You know, so I mean, pretty good performance. I mean, coach only had to use, I'm just doing the math here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Really, only 6 or 7 pitchers actually had to come out this weekend. So that's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. And you know, how about my guy right there? I put that up because as I was charting, Gerald, you know, and I don't know if the SWAC Players of the Week info has come up, but if Ben Kim is not on the docket for Player of the Week in the SWAC, something's wrong. I mean, he had about 12 plate appearances, and just in case people don't know, you know, when you walk doesn't necessarily count as an official at bat. It's a plate appearance, but the man had 7 at bats. He was 5 of 7. Drew 5 walks, had 3 RBIs. I mean, that's a hell of a weekend for Ben Kim. And then there were some other guys who had a good weekend as well. Justin Cruz, he was 6 of 10 over the weekend. Jay Campbell had 5 hits over the weekend. A couple of guys had 2 home runs. You know, just what's your takeaway on the guys that you saw?
Yeah, I mean, last week when I went out to practice before this series, we were talking a lot about, you know, what the defense was doing, how the defense kind of was keeping them in games, and Shoop, he's a former pitcher himself, so I mean, he's always big on pitching. You know, he said, you know, the hitting's going to catch up, and it did. I mean, I believe they hit 6 home runs, 5-6 home runs in the weekend, and Perez hit 2 of those on Saturday. So I mean, it's like it's all coming together. It's all coming together. You know, they're off to a hot start, and I believe they were off to a pretty hot start last year, if I remember correctly. I want to say they started off 13. I think one of them told me they started off 13-2 last year in the SWAC. So I mean, looking good. I mean, we already know what Caleb Granger gonna do. Man. Caleb Granger solidified his spot when they went to Gainesville for the tournament, and he was out there pitching. You know, when he was relieving Hunter Veets and all those those guys. You know, young Caleb Granger came in and held his own against that Florida Gators team. So you already know what he's gonna bring. You know, you already know Friday night. You know, the other team bats might as well lead them bats on the bus if Caleb Granger pitching that thing. But yeah, I mean they're looking good right now, man. They're getting hot. You know, it's good to get those wins, and it's good to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat too.
Yes,
that's another thing, because I mean you got Jackson State coming in, and we already know. I was telling them, I said, it don't matter what sport it is. FAMU and Jackson State, it's just now turned to just this big rivalry.
In
Jackson State,
every
yeah,
sport, Gerald. I
oh,
mean, we baseball, softball, hell, tennis went
yeah,
seven games. I mean,
yeah,
softball, it doesn't matter, man.
yeah,
Basketball, everything we do against those dudes or women
yeah.
is
You
something,
gotta
right?
think, you gotta think about it. Football versus Jackson State 2024. That basically decided the SWAC East and eventual SWAC champion.
Mhm.
Softball in 2024, FAMU versus Jackson in the championship.
Volleyball, don't
Um,
forget volleyball.
yeah,
Volleyball.
volleyball. Yeah, man. It's the FAMU and Jackson. It just not got crazy, man. It just got crazy. But so I mean that's a big series, and that would be a big series to come out. With a victory and just stay on top, because I mean Jackson State's one of those teams in the SWAC, SWAC baseball that's pretty respectable. Not sure how they're doing too much this year. I think they might be around 500, but
We got
yeah,
the
here you
standings,
go.
right? The
Yeah,
standings right
yeah,
here. We got
look,
the standings right
yeah,
here.
a game below 500, but man, when FAMU and Jackson play against each other, the records go out the window. So, it's gonna be a hype one for sure. And
This
and
series
so
this weekend. I mean, and the only reason that uh, they're a half a game behind is because I think one of their games
one of the games got canceled. It was
got
raining.
postponed. Yeah,
Yeah, postponed. Yeah,
yeah, one of their games got postponed. So they're 4-5. I was referring to. I'm actually Bethune is a half a game behind us, and I think one of their games got postponed.
yeah.
Uh, or maybe I'm thinking softball, Jackson State softball, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at the wins. It's Jackson State softball. That's what it is.
Yeah,
We're in a tie in the East in softball. So softball is traveling to Jackson State. That's a battle for first place. The
mm-hmm.
men are hosting Jackson State this weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's happening this weekend. But then, like you said, there you can see the standings. And what's been the vibe from? I know Coach Shute likes the new format. He's been a big proponent of it. What about the players? Have you had a chance to talk to the guys? What's their take on this new format? I mean, we haven't played UAPB when we played them a couple series ago. It'd been like nearly a decade. The guys on this team were probably in elementary school the last time FAMU and UAPB played, and
Yeah.
we don't get a host preview often. So that just happened. And Jackson State, of course, is normal, but then so what's the vibe on this new format?
I haven't really gotten a chance to talk to them, but I mean, they win it. They winning with it. I
Exactly.
mean, they winning with it. The UAPB came, and did UAPB get a game? Or they got swept? They got swept.
UAP, no, they got swept. The only loss is to Bethune. The only loss that we
Yeah.
had was to Bethune, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to no, hold on. Let me double check. I'm sitting here on the schedule right now.
Yeah. Regardless, the two teams that they usually don't play against, they beat them in the series, and they might have swept them too. So,
Alabama State. We lost the third game against Alabama State. But we had won the first two, and so yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure they like it. They getting victories off of it. And I mean, it kind of, I know all these teams don't make it to the tournament, but I mean, it kind of gives you a look at, it lets you get a look at everybody basically, to see what everybody kind of, working with it in the event that you do play against them, in that double elimination tournament. So I mean, I say, I guess I'm speaking for them, but I would assume that they like it because and I gave them and I led the two sweeps. So,
right. All right, Gerald. I definitely appreciate your time. Before I let you off the hook tonight, I got to ask you about the transfer portal and just what is happening because we're in terms of FAMU basketball, we're starting to get used to it. We've seen the turnover the last two seasons under Coach McCullum, and now here in the first year under Coach Crary. In doing the math, this is the number of guys who entered their name in the portal since last Monday, when the portal first opened. There were 8 guys, right? And we did this show last Wednesday, Portal Madness, and 8 guys had been in. One of those 8 actually, wasn't on the roster last season, but the year before. Then after the show, you get 2 other guys, Jordan Chapman, and then, of course, the most recent one, Shakir O'Neal. Now, you got to help shed some light on this, because I went back to the article, Shakir O'Neal saying, and there was the quote that was the big quote about, what was his quote about representing FAMU that he said?
He said he wanted to make FAMU proud.
Make FAMU proud. Want to make FAMU proud. And so somehow he ends up in the portal after his first major season of college basketball. He's in the portal. And of all the places he's going to, Gerald, he's going to Sacramento State.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is going on? Gerald, what are you, as you talk to guys, what give us a perspective that we're missing? What are we missing, Gerald? I got my own thoughts, but I mean, you talk to the student athletes. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, right now it's just the reality. It's just always, even Alabama State, who just won the SWAC championship, their whole roster, got gutted.
Yeah.
It's tough. I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. It's tough on coaches, and I mean, I understand. People say players should be able to to come and go, and because coaches leave all the time. But I think eventually the NCAA, they got to step in, and I mean, I will support a 2-year transfer rule. You come in, you gotta stay there for 2 years, unless the coach was to leave or anything like that. But yeah, it's rough, man. It's hard. It's hard to get building blocks when you enjoy some sort of success, and then you're like, all right, we're about to run it back, and then everybody go. Everybody swap. I mean, Sterling Young won SWAC player of the year, so you kind of
you had expect a sense, right? You had a sense that might happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, the guys that get like the superlative awards. Okay, all right, so Sterling, Milton, you may be like, because him and Curry just got that long-term connection. But I mean, you're not really surprised off of that one too. But I mean, like I said, it's just, regardless of what reasons these guys are leaving, they could be. I mean, some leave for playing time. I mean, these dudes playing. Well, I mean, some may want to try to play on at a larger school, or try to get some money. That's just how it is. When in the NIL game and not a transfer portal, and I'll be real. I know some type of probably tampering goes on in a sense. We are. Sure. Yeah, we not slow here, so we know how it is. But yeah, it's definitely rough on the coaches. It's rough on the coaches. It's just like, I was excited to see how this team would look after a year of going to the SWAC tournament and actually having a chance to win that thing too. Like, it wasn't like FAMU just went and you like, oh, they were
one major injury affected this team severely.
Exactly. So yeah, man, it seems like it's gonna be a whole different team next year. It's rough on the women's side too. I mean, the women's team is getting that whole team is seeing the nucleus of that team is all out too. So yeah, man, it's hard out here, man. It's hard out here. So I mean, the NCAA gonna have to step in and do something. I really think maybe a 2-year transfer rule might be able to, assist with that, because I mean, you want to be able to hold everybody accountable, in the decisions that they make. Not saying that transferring out is a bad decision, but I mean, a level of commitment may do well, and maybe you can allow coaches maybe to grant players waivers or something, and transfer out the 1 year. I don't know, but there's definitely going to be some furniture moving when it comes to this whole transferring out thing. Just because like it's rough on the coaches, man. It's rough. But I mean, I hope everybody that's transferring out, they find what their intent was to graduate. I hope they or the transfer. I hope they be able to get that wherever they go and continue to do well, athletics and in their education. So.
That picture I put up, the women's program, the most, obviously we heard last week, Olivia Delancey, Demaya Griffin, Lia Ellis, Eve Alexander, Sydney Hendricks, all 5 of those young ladies. And then the one that I heard today when Liv tweeted it, that one hurt my heart. Because I mean, we've had Cheyenne McEvans on the show. She transferred from Syracuse after an ACL injury. She's in the and look, so essentially the women's team, I think, hold on, let me pull this up because Marcus sent this to me. I think Marcus told me that based on where did he send this to me? He said basically there is one freshman left. If you were to go look at our roster online on FAMU Athletics, there's only one young lady on the roster who either hasn't exhausted eligibility or transferred out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but again, hashtag new normal. I get it, but it's still, like you said, I mean,
it's still rough. Yeah, it's still rough.
It's still rough.
No matter how you say it.
Yeah, Coach Gordon knew that she was going to have to at least replace 8. I'm not sure she knew that she'd have to replace Cheyenne, Demaya, Eve, who she recruited, Sydney. I mean, that's that. When you look at that, that's a. I mean, those young ladies put up points. I mean, I tweeted this out earlier, man. Cheyenne led the team in minutes per game, points, point average, field goal attempts. I mean, she damn near led the team in practically every stat except the rebounds. Gone. Well, in the portal. I don't know if in the portal means gone.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because there is that opportunity should schools and coaches allow them to come back, that opportunity does sit there. But yeah, so as of right now, if I can tell you who, I don't know, he sent it out earlier. Let me see. I don't know. There's one player. It's a freshman. I don't know. I can't recall the name, but yeah, essentially the women have one freshman remaining on the roster. Do you get a chance to have conversations with the student athletes that you talk to about NIL? And I'll kind of give you this last thought here, if you want to, wherever you want to go with it. I'm wondering is the HBCU experience or expectation, is it living up to what these student athletes came to FAMU for? And I say that because we've heard from those maybe young ladies like Ariana Grizzle, for example. There even been some young ladies who've been on the volleyball side of things who came to FAMU from, PWIs, FBS, Power 5, whatever phrase you want to use, the upper tier, level to an HBCU. And some people may say, oh, you came down to an HBCU. But whatever route you got to an HBCU where you were no longer the minority. And we hear them talk about what that meant. And I'm just wondering, Gerald, all these kids leaving, it can't all be about the money, is it? I know I see you guys in the chat saying it's about the money. Is it really all about the money? I mean, is nobody enjoying the HBCU experience? What do you hear? I mean, have you had those conversations, or is it something that you thought about wanting to ask? You tell me.
I mean, the times where I do ask, how they're enjoying the school, everybody always say they love it, but I mean, it could be things, when somebody asks, hey, you all right? And you got about 33 tabs open in your head. You say, oh yeah, I'm good, but I really think they enjoyed that FAMU, but I think, if you got an opportunity to get paid somewhere else, you're going to go. You know what I mean? Like, so that's just it's just the reality of it. I mean, it's most times it's a money motivated move. I mean, and sometimes it's, you know, on the football sense, if somebody moving up from FCS, HCU to FBS, it could be, you know, trying to chase some pro aspirations. But I mean, a lot of times it is money. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, you see, you got NIL agents or representatives or whatever nowadays, and you see them if you see one of your players signed to an NIL representative,
yeah,
the good is gone, man.
That question right there, realistically, how much it? And this is the thing that I appreciate you bringing up this, Jay Brown, because I keep wondering, how much money really? I mean, come on now. I mean, some of y'all I've seen the list of where some people are going. Like, you know, we already talked about Shakir going to Sacramento State. There's a young man from UAPB transferred to Lindenwood. Another from PV transferred to UNC Pembroke. From NCCU to Kennesaw State to A&T, from A&T to UNCW. I mean, these are lateral moves. These aren't upward moves. These are lateral moves.
Yep.
Are those schools really, their NIL is that much more than? I mean, look, I mean, I'm not into the pockets or asking, you know, the folks at Fang Exchange and Ashley and them saying, what are we paying everybody? I mean, I don't think there's been a market release report, but I mean, it is starting to get to that point, Gerald, where it's like, man, I really love somebody got to start publishing this stuff. You know, it's I don't know, man. It's an illogical situation that the logic side of me is like it's thrown off right now.
Yeah, I often think about, you know, what are they getting? What are they getting at these different schools? You know, I don't try to pocket watch or nothing like that, but I always think, like, what are these other schools offering? You know, to them. But yeah, man, like I said, it's just how it is now. It's just how it is. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's it's just a confusing situation. But like I said, I just want to see everybody. I just want to see everybody get to wherever they're trying to get to. You know, when they make these moves, and you know, but that's all you really can do. Wish them the best, and you know, and just try to move forward. Really.
Yeah, man, I tell you, man, college is already hard enough, right? This is that period of your life where you have so many thoughts and things going on in your mind. And I'm not gonna lie, there were times, and even as an undergrad, I questioned why I was in Tallahassee so far away from home. You know, no lie, but I'm thankful that I stayed. I'm thankful that nobody came to get me. So, you know, because there were times when I probably sat in that Gibbs Hall room and was like, man, if mom and dad would drive all the way down to Indiana and come get me, I'd get in the car and go. But, you know, they did. So it just, it's tough. It's tough.
I'm from Savannah, and I went right down. I went 3 hours away to Valdosta. Ain't nobody was coming to pick me up.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, I would, and you know, I've talked to coaches, and you know, in my high school program, my coach is very connected with a lot of coaches, and they all, to a degree, all just think it's this generation of kids looking for something that, for the majority of them. I mean, there are the few who are definitely upgrading, so to speak, in life, in their collegiate life. But for the most of them, it's like, what are you're giving something away that you're going to possibly regret. But that's why I keep wondering about what this HBCU experience is. We're gonna have to, for student athletes now, for the non-student athlete, their experience with FAMU or any HBCU is a little bit different, right? because they don't have the rigors of. They have a different set of rigors. I should say it that way. I don't want to say they don't have any rigors, but their journey is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering. And this may be a question I ask AD Suggs. You know, what are we presenting for student athletes to help them be able to appreciate their time at FAMU or an HBCU in general, and when they have concerns, how well are we addressing them? Or and that's I don't know. I would love to be able to, as someone said, do an exit interview. I'd love to be able to give an exit survey to the 17 transfers there and kind of ask them, well, why are you leaving? I mean, it can't all be the money, can it? I mean, maybe it's the coach. What's the percent between the money, the coach, and then missing home, missing a girlfriend or boyfriend, missing your parents? I don't know, man. All the stuff that we kind of scratch our head over when we were early in our early 20s.
You can find a new girlfriend on FAMU campus.
I saw you take that drink. Look, you ain't said nothing. See, that's exactly right.
You can find a new one on FAMU campus.
Oh my gosh, yes, you can. And if you're a female, and a new boyfriend too, probably. All right, G, man, I appreciate your time tonight, man. Again, the football scrimmage is tomorrow. Any other story ideas or anything that you're covering that maybe you want to tease and tell us to be on the lookout for?
Well, yeah, football scrimmage tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. I'll she'll be published around like noon tomorrow. Got to give me some time to, do my interviews, digest what I saw on that field. So that'll be out tomorrow, and then I'm also gonna head out to baseball. Do a little preview for the Jackson game. That's gonna be like we said, it's always a big deal when FAMU and Jackson get together. So have some type of preview for that on Friday before the series start, and I'll be back out at baseball on Sunday to see how this series going, see if FAMU stand on top of them standings. So busy time, definitely a lot of stories out there, and then after Sunday, we ain't ready for spring game week, orange and green spring game. Well, last year it was orange and white spring game because one team was wearing the white jerseys and the other team was wearing the orange jerseys. But it'll be spring game week, and I believe Coach Colsey is planning on bringing the spring game draft back too. So, we'll have something to look out for and see who will be that number one pick in the spring game draft. So yeah, that's what's on the way. Keep tuning in to my work, rattlernews.com. I don't have stuff out every day, but just check it every day. You never know. Might surprise y'all. So
I feel like you got it every day. I feel like there's a story every day, Gerald. You're underselling that. You're underselling.
Yeah. So rattlernews.com. If you want your FAMU sports coverage, get at me. I got awards to prove it. And
he's certified. He's certified. He's official, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So and my email is attached at the bottom of every story. So if you want to see me some fan mail, you want to see me some. I'm gonna call it fan mail. FAM. I'm gonna call it fan mail. You want to see me some fan mail? Tell me how good I'm doing my job. Tell me how much I suck at my job. We got both of them. Just hit me up and we'll talk.
Yeah, send Gerald that email. Then Gerald, if you send him enough, then he'll have to do a column where he responds to your email. And then, have to or do something like that. Y'all make sure to hit it. If you see him at the baseball game, make sure to hit him up and say, hey, don't bother him too much now because he's there he's working. But I'm sure if you go up to him, if you see Gerald, make sure to let him know you appreciate him and then let him know you appreciate him coming on the show because he's helping me out, but he's also kind of keeping us abreast of what's going on up in Tallahassee. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you next Saturday, Gerald. I'm going to be making the trek up. As I hope many of you who are watching, if you're not in Tallahassee, you're making plans to be in Tallahassee next Saturday, April 12th for the Orange and Green game. And should be a good time. I heard there's a concert going on after. Did you hear anything about that?
I don't know about no concert.
Oh, yes, you do. Stop it. Stop it. You know there's a concert
That
going on.
might be a question for your next guest.
Yes, it is. It is. It
Yeah.
is. There you go. See, good tease. Good tease there. All right. Well, again, Gerald Thomas III, thank you for checking us out. Thank you for coming on. You guys hang tight with us after this break. We'll come back. I'll catch up with what's going on softball. Big weekend coming up in Jackson, Mississippi. And we're going to find out what's going to win a title. Is it hitting or is it pitching? Because each team is coming into this series doing something really well. And we're going to find out what matters more, hitting or pitching. We're going to find out this weekend in Jackson, Mississippi with our softball team. And then also coming up at the bottom of the hour, our VP of Intercollegiate Athletics, AD Angela Suggs, VP Angela Suggs will be coming on. So hang tight. Appreciate you guys watching, and thank you, Gerald. You're watching the O&G Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Bryan, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
I'm Nia Morgan, and for all things FAMU Athletics, check out the Orange and Green Strike Zone
on Wednesdays at the Black College Sports Network.
Go Rattlers!
All right, welcome back to the O&G Strike Zone. It's Bryan here. Here in the hour number 2. Not sure where in the heck my guys are. You know, I know they're busy. I know they're out on assignment, handling business. Kelvin, Marcus, they told me they were going to come join me tonight, but I don't know. But I appreciate Gerald Thomas coming in and joining me in the last segment. Coming up shortly, VP Intercollegiate Athletics, AD Angela Suggs will be joining us. Might even have Ashley Coleman checking in. Ashley, of course, of Fang Exchange. she gonna try. I know she's on business, traveling as well. She said she's gonna try to join us. But coming up, beginning tomorrow, it's the FAMU Day of Giving 1887 Strikes campaign. We want to make the pledge here early and encourage all of you to start striking for FAMU Athletics now. There's the information. Text FAMU Athletics to 71777. And let's set a record. I don't know, maybe AD Suggs will come in and tell us what is the previous record for this Day of Giving for athletics, but I think we should blow that out of the water this year. I think we can really blow that this number, whatever it is, and maybe she'll be able to tell us, blow it out the water. So I want to encourage all of you. It officially, I don't know what time it officially starts. I don't know if it starts at midnight, April 3rd, but I'm giving you the QR code. I'm giving you the text number now, 71777. Just text FAMU Athletics to that number, all one word, FAMU Athletics, and make a donation, make a pledge. We're going to try to keep it centralized. And one of the things that I know I had questions about in previous campaigns is you would see different sports doing different things. This program had, this number. So if you like softball here, give baseball this number, football here. I don't know if we're still doing that. I'm hoping that maybe we're just wanting to focus efforts clearly on one thing, and that's FAMU Athletics. So take your resources and whatever you want to give, whether it's 1887, $188.70, or whatever. If you're blessed enough to make it $1,887, whatever it is, let's give that number to athletics, and let's help AD Suggs in our athletics department continue to grow to the level where we're able to answer some of these challenges that we're seeing out in the athletic marketplace. All right. Got to give some love to our softball team. Softball team is currently in the midst of their second consecutive sweep of an opponent, as they took care of business here. Let me get over to my softball page here. We just took care of Mississippi Valley State at home over the weekend to improve to 13-16 overall, 9-3 in conference play, officially in first place in the East Division, after the 13-2 win over Valley. And then on Saturday, doubleheader, did not allow a run at all, as we took out Valley 12-0 and then 7-0 in the second game. I want to give a special mention to, as I was going through and kind of doing a summary of the statistics, Kiana Watson, who, of course, you saw her in the shout out there. I'm just kind of looking at the stats from a game perspective. Kiana had a great weekend, and unfortunately, I don't have the entire numbers of what she did. Let me see how quickly, if I can pull up the roster here, and I can go to Kiana's name here. Of course, Kiana, senior from Pensacola, Florida, went to West Florida High School. Let me see. Pull up the stats. FAMU Athletics. By the way, if you haven't noticed, FAMU Athletics, once again, back up in, seems to be operating at full capacity now. Shout out to Dennis Driscoll, who's now in the new role. And I think we will have Dennis on the show next week. So you guys will get to meet the man who is now in charge of our social media and our sports information for FAMU Athletics. Let's see. All right. So this most recent weekend for Kiana, she had 2 hits in each game, as well as 2 runs scored in each game. And so in total, I think quick math here, she was 6 of 10. That's a batting average of 600 with 6 runs scored and 2 RBIs. She also drew, let's see, she also had 2 stolen bases as well. So it was a great weekend for her. I have not seen the SWAC players of the week yet, but I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to feel some kind of way if I don't see Kiana Watson for the softball player of the week. And I'm going to feel some kind of way if I don't see Ben Kim for the baseball player of the week. I'm going to feel some kind of way because they had some great numbers. So this weekend, oh, hold on. I want to show this, by the way. The standings right now, the softball. Okay, hold on. My good friend Aria has checked in, and she is telling me Amari Brown, co-hitter of the week. I'm okay with that, because I was actually looking at some of the statistics. Amari was the second person who had some good numbers. Softball, 32 runs in total, only giving up 2. Appreciate that, Area. Thank you for dropping that intel in. I knew it was coming out sometime probably during the show. So here are the latest softball standings. I showed you the baseball standings earlier. We are sitting a half a game up on Jackson State, 9-3. And that's because Jackson State, one of their games got postponed. So I don't recall who it was against. I think it might have been Bethune by the totals. So they're a half game behind in the win column. But that's who we play this weekend. The ladies travel to Jackson, Mississippi, taking on Jackson. And I teased it earlier. This is going to come down to pitching versus hitting. Jackson State right now, and I'm just looking at conference statistics within hold on, that's baseball. Let me get over to the SWAC softball standings. I was looking at this earlier. Jackson State is leading the SWAC right now in terms of its batting average. And I'm looking at conference statistics, which I don't know. I always debate on what is more valid. Is it the overall statistics or is it the conference stats? But right now in conference games, and each team has played, as you can see, we have played 12. They played 11. Jackson State is batting .372 in conference games. FAMU is batting .346, which is third. But that's the batting averages. When I go and look at the pitching, FAMU is leading the conference with an ERA of 1.44. And opponent's batting average is 205. So we are leading the conference in pitching. Jackson State is actually 9th and allowing ERA of 5.23, and opponents are batting .319. Fielding, FAMU is 2nd in the conference in fielding. So that would be your defensive statistics. So the question is, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, I mean, this is a rematch of the championship last season, in Mississippi. We lost out to Jackson State in those 2 games. What matters? Is it the hitting or is it the pitching? I don't know. You know who I can ask? I can go to a softball mom. Let me go to a softball mom and ask that question because I know a softball mom would know. Let me bring in and welcome none other than our VP of Intercollegiate Athletics, our athletic director, none other than Angela Suggs. So, AD Suggs, welcome on to the show. You're on mute, but let me go ahead and ask you as a softball mom. Hold on, okay. What matters? Pitching or hitting? You tell us, softball mom.
Right. As hello, Rattlers and everyone else in the ONG StrikeZone community. It's both. As the mom of a hitter, you got to be on. when it's your time and you step in that box, you got to do your job, right? But pitching, you know, when it's time to go on defense, hey, yeah, that pitcher will get you through. And so and let's not forget a good catcher as well. And everyone plays their part, right? And I'm super excited to just jump into this conversation. Congratulations to Coach Bill and what she's been able to do while I was on my way in, right? And, you know, before I got there, I called, you know, a couple of folks that were already on campus and was like, oh, yeah, now, you know, the Lord saw fit for us to have a softball vacancy. And we know softball. And it just, again, Coach Bill is an amazing woman, right? Amazing mom, wife, and just an amazing leader of these young women that have gone on to do great things. And so super excited her coming in. I mean, she didn't hit campus until like the end of September. Those young ladies, and we went through the same thing, just to kind of, you know, give Rattler Nation a understanding. Our daughter is at Campbell University in North Carolina, and they were getting a new coach as well. So we lived it as parents, Davin and I did, in terms of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? So the young ladies that are on our softball team, we understand, I understand firsthand, you know, what that feels like, what that looks like. And she's come in and she's done the thing. But, you know, we're super excited to see this. Shout out to Dennis Driscoll that has come in to head up our brand advancement, of which, of course, athletics communications falls under that. And to get the stats right, to get the stats in so that you can start to see that FAMU branding in the players of the week across all the spring sports.
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of nice. I kind of hit Dennis up after Alabama State won the title, and we were like, you know, I saw him posing with the trophy and was like, woo, glad to have you bringing some of that magic down to Tallahassee, Dennis. So we love it. We appreciate it. So
yeah. And actually with that, Dennis was scheduled to start that Tuesday after the tournament. And of course, we know that game didn't start until 9:30 p.m. on Saturday night in Atlanta. So we were able to kind of talk to him, and, you know, we're like, hey, so do you need to go to Ohio? What's the deal? Like, where are we? Right. But definitely committed to us. And he was in Tallahassee that following week. But that's the kind of energy that we want, right? In terms of experience and winning, and know how to manage those wins, both on the courts and fields, as well as behind the scenes and getting it done.
I want to take a second, and as a softball mom, how's your hitter doing? How's Miss Dillon doing in the Campbell season for her?
Thank you so much for asking. And so, Uncle B, you know, Dillon is doing well. You know, the Campbell is doing well in the CAA is the conference that they're in. They're sitting at the top of the conference, and they're a good team. So they're stacked. And so she's having to come in there and learn how to, you know, the make sure that she's ready when it's her turn. Right. And but you know her mama and her daddy. And so we are preparing her for the real world, right? And in terms of everything, but she's doing well. Really bonding with the team. Davin and I were able to be there for their opening game for the spring season, because you only get one, right? You only get one first college softball game, and my schedule allowed for us to be able to do that. But, you know, she understands. What's really great is she understands the sacrifice in terms of, it was a family decision for me to come back to Florida A&M and serve in this role and understanding. So we surprised her. She didn't expect me to be able to make it but we were able to make it up there. And thanks to Game Changer, Facebook Live, and Flow Sports, and everybody else that we're shouting out right now, I'm able to watch her and be with her as best I can.
Love that. Love that. Good to hear. Good to hear. So, okay, it brings me to a couple of thoughts to kind of transition to that. One, because it's a topic, as we've seen in intercollegiate athletics right now, especially in the world of basketball, we're seeing the heavy, large numbers of student athletes entering the transfer portal for collegiate basketball. Men, women, I think last Monday was the first day of the portal opening, and I think I read something that there were some 1,700 student athletes that were making the decision. And the new normal, as I continue to phrase it, is that it seems to be, regardless of whether, and let's just look across the diaspora of HBCUs. Last week on the show, I mentioned that all 23 men's Division I programs have at least 2 players in the portal. Doesn't matter if you were the team that finished in last place in your conference or if you won the title like Alabama State did. Players are in the portal in large numbers. Our own program has seen it. But and so my question is more so when we, at this point, I feel like we have to, and maybe do you, as you look at it and as you talk to these student athletes and having that unique experience of being a parent of young person in collegiate athletics right now, what is it that you're hearing or seeing as you talk to coaches, administrators, students? How do we rationalize, and the loose word, because I don't know if you can rationalize it. How do we absorb what we've seen over the past 10 days as it relates to collegiate basketball? And that's just the start, because it affects all of sports.
So, Bryan, the first thing that we've got to do is take ourselves out of our experiences, right? These kids are not us. I'm here in Tampa right now, the women's Final Four. Of course, my immediate past life, we were a part of supporting the Tampa Bay Sports Commission and bringing women's Final Four here to the state of Florida, specifically here to Tampa, and able to do some great things. But I was able to spend some time with some Rattlers earlier today, right? And we were talking just about our kids. So let me just speak. I'll speak personally. Dylan is different from me, right? I had to eat whatever was cooked. I might have cooked Dylan something different. I mean, I started out like, I'm going to raise her like I raised myself. Or like, not like I raised myself, but like my parents raised me, right? I'm going to do but then where it clicked was when I realized that I'm raising Dylan for a world that I've never seen. And I had to remember that my parents raised me based on the world that they knew. And as y'all have heard me say before, I'm the product of old parents. So I'm a Gen Xer with baby boomer experiences, because my parents are the ages of baby boomer parents, right? But they raised me based on the training that they received on how they were raised. So I can iron very well. I can do all of these things because they were raised to take care of households and do different things. Now they went on to be, professionals and senior leaders on the college campus and that kind of thing. But I have a skill set, and because they raised me for a different time. Same thing here. These student athletes that we have now, many of them, some of them got it out of the mud. Some of them did not. Getting it out of the mud is not a prerequisite anymore for you to be a great athlete, right? So some of them did eat steak every day. So guess what? I got to find a way to feed them steak every day. Their friends ate steak every day. They're eating steak every day in high school. Back in the day, your high school would go to Western Sizzler for the pregame meal. I can't bring them here, and we trying to, and it's a sandwich for a pregame meal or trying to figure, something out in that way. So we've got to understand that times are different now. This whole portal situation, we've got to prepare ourselves, and we can't sit back and say, oh my gosh, this just doesn't make any sense. Because no, we will have 10-month relationships with student athletes. And guess what? The assumption can't be made that that's because they're jumping from school to school. Some are. But some of them, guess what? Graduated from Georgia Tech. And they're coming here to live out their last semester or their last season, which means that it could be short-lived. It's not a penalty to us. It's not anything along those lines, but they have one season left. And how can we manage that? You're going to see, and you are seeing, that many of the schools now have general managers, similar to the professional sports leagues that are taking a look at how we're going to manage who we're bringing in. Next Monday is April 7th. That's the date of the vote for the House settlement, and things are just going to be different. As you mentioned, 1,700 kids got in the portal over the past couple of weeks. It's 85,000 plus kids in the portal, period. That's a town.
Yeah. Wow.
We've had kids that go in the portal in other sports, and it wasn't what they thought. The grass was not greener, and they've come back. They performed for us. They put up stats, and they are graduating from Florida A&M. So let's just not get antsy about this thing. Let's not become spastic about it. Let's figure out how to operate and succeed in this space. These are 18 to 24-year-olds, 17 sometimes to 24-year-olds, right? Sometimes they got to see for themselves, right? But we've got to be prepared to figure out what our new win is in this new game. Mm-hmm. We can't play Wii the same way we played Atari.
That's a great analogy. You very well said. Very well said. So what plans are we putting? What things are you foreseeing being or working on so that FAMU can meet them where they are?
Right. And so Florida A&M University is a voluntary member of the NCAA and the Southwestern Athletic Conference. We choose to sponsor sports at the Division I level. That carries a responsibility, right? And so in that responsibility, that means that we're going to operate in terms of the competitive nature and what we need as it relates to success here in the Division I FCS space. And so we, along with our colleagues in the SWAC, have opted in. And so that means that we are moving towards, we will need to establish a fund for NIL to come directly from the institution. But in full transparency, there are some allowances right now that we are not activating on our campus that we need to, such as cost of attendance. Mm-hmm. There are other schools in the league that are paying that. There were other schools in the league that went into the SWAC basketball tournament. Is there something that I'm hearing?
I heard it for a brief minute, but it kind of went away.
Okay. But there are institutions within the league that are paying cost of attendance, and those student athletes came into the tournament with a different kind of motivation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? We're Rattlers. We want to win at everything. We want to win the Commissioner's Cup. So we've got to look at adding sports, because winning championship means that. So if we only have 14 sports and there are other schools in the league that have 16, 17, 18 sports, we then have to factor in our ability to win every trophy that exists, right? But winning that trophy means that we are operating in the spirit of excellence. And that's going to be a theme for us, that we, are able to be competitive in every space.
Gotcha. Let me bring in my co-host. He's gonna slide me in, Eddie Kane Jr. None other than Mr. Roger.
I was looking for the rest of the team. I was like,
left me high and dry. They left me out there.
Hey, I just want y'all to know that I'm back out of the portal. I'm all in.
Good to have you back, brother Kelvin. Good to have you back. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, I just came from Longwood, your neck of the woods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, y'all didn't want to let me go to get back on time.
Hey, look, it's a lot of good things happening out there. It's hard.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to leave that area. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, you had a chance to jump in here. You heard us, a little bit here. Any questions you want to jump in and ask AD Suggs?
Yeah, along the themes of what we need to do, and I kind of heard a response. I'm just wondering, is there anything? How is the conversation going with our peers? You mentioned some of the things that some of our SWAC brethren are already doing in terms of activation for student athletes. Is there something from a conference standpoint? Are there going to be any I guess minimum requirements? How's the conference going to attack this new landscape, because it impacts all the institutions, and right now there's a wide variety within the SWAC in terms of budgets and how things operate.
Certainly. And so with that, we've got to remember that in order for us to remain competitive, right? We went into the SWAC. Laws are different in each state, and that's something that we often don't think about. So in terms of allowances and the way that you're able to support from an institutional support standpoint, that's going to vary across the board. Tuition is different in each state. Florida is an allowable, our tuition is pretty friendly, right? Florida has a friendly tuition rate, particularly as it relates to in-state. There is a law in the state of Florida where all student athletes are allowed to be receive in-state tuition and receive an out-of-state tuition waiver, if you will, and that's for all student athletes within the state of Florida. And so we do have some friendly rules, right, for support, but then there are some things that are different, wherein in Florida, the public institutions have to be self-sustaining. And so that means we're at zero-based budgeting, which means that our revenues need to meet our expenses. And so we don't have necessarily a public allocation, if you will. We're not using E&G, education and general funds. We're not using those appropriated dollars, taxpayer dollars, if you will, to fund the operations of our athletic programs in the state of Florida. We have a great schedule this year for our wonderful 2023 HBCU National Champion football program. We have 6 away trips. The closest trip is Boca. In a car, that's 6.5 hours. On a bus, you need to add in some time because we got to stop, right? That's the closest trip. We're going to Boca, we're going to Miami, and I'm not giving you the order, but we're going to Miami, then we're turning around, coming back to Boca. We're going to Itabena, we're going to Pine Bluff, we're going to Huntsville, we're going to Baton Rouge. And if any of you all have ever driven those trips, those are some hard rides, right? That's not, we just gonna hop in here, sing a few songs, play a few, podcasts, and we're there. No, that's conversations, that's rest areas, that stuff. So put that on a bus. Put that into the expectation of dominating and winning the game. Put that into the expectation of going to class and making good grades. Put that into the expectation of graduating in 4 years. Put that into the expectation of making it to Atlanta. 6 trips. Well, I met with our air charter company last week, and to charter all of those flights is right under $600,000. But that's the Division I experience. That's just to get them there. Then I need to put them on the ground. We love our charter bus company. Love them. Does my heart well. Like I've been at the 7.5 years that I was gone and other events, Super Bowls and, all-star games. And I would see that company out of Tallahassee in Tampa and in Miami and in other places. I'm like, yeah. And when we see the band on those buses and we see the team on those buses, well, guess what? When we roll those buses out, that's about 10 grand. The football team needs 4. Looking at about $100,000 to put them in the air. Because again, think about it. If we take a 10-hour car ride, we taking off on Monday when we get back. But y'all will be out here riding out talking about, oh my God, the kid's not going to class. So I said all that to say that I'm just really excited about the energy, the support, everyone. But we've got to communicate the information. I will be, we've been trying to get this out, but we just have things that are happening in terms of our response to the House settlement. I've been honored to be a part of the Speaker of the House here in the state of Florida convened a work group to talk about it, because we are a part of the state university system, which has Division I programs, us too. We are a Division I program in the Florida State University system. We happen to be FCS, but that only applies to football. And so in every other sport, when we win the conference championship, we then go on to play 40, 50, $100 million budgets. It's the same national championship trophy. I'm here in Tampa for the NCAA Women's Final Four. Our women's basketball program, that's the same national championship trophy, of which Florida A&M has one for football. The only HBCU to have one.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Let's make a transition over to the FAMU Day of Giving, the 1887 strikes. And there it is, reminding everybody again. I figured since I had this, you sent me this, I could already start promoting it, even though it officially starts tomorrow. But I've been telling people we have to get on it now. So already text FAMU Athletics to 71777. Now, my first question, and actually no, I'm gonna let you tell what are the goals? What are you hoping to get across to Rattler Nation? What do you want to see us accomplish through this period? And officially, because it says April 3rd to the 4th. So when does it quote unquote officially start and end?
So officially, it's 1887 strikes is a focus on 1,887 minutes of giving.
Gotcha. Okay.
To Florida A&M across the board, right? What you see here, and thank you so much for posting this, is focused on athletics. The QR code there, if it's on your phone, you can hold it down and it'll pop up, or you can take a picture of it and it'll pop up. But then there's going to be a drop down for all of our teams. And then you can give either to the Rattler Athletics Fund or you can give to the teams individually. It is to support excellence in the student athlete experience, nutrition, transportation, other areas of operation, uniform maintenance and backfilling of uniforms and the like. It gets cold. And so we need the climate weather gear, if you will, the fields in terms of looking at that where we are there. Now we know that there are some popular conversations about upgrades that need to take place in Bragg Memorial Stadium and other places, and we can talk about it. But what I mentioned today in the conversation that we had, thanks to Rattlers in Arms and what we were able to do at an amazing place, a spot here in Tampa, 7th and Grove, owned by a FAMU Rattler, Farm D alum. And if you're in Tampa, you've got to check out 7th and Grove. It was an amazing spot. But what we shared there was, guess what? It's 2025. It's April 2025, which means it's almost June, which means it's almost December. So it's almost 2026. That means we're 3 years away almost from 2029. In 2029, the Lawson Center will be 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
That means that we got to go into the Lawson Center and figure out what we're going to do in terms of upgrading the locker rooms, looking at the meeting space, looking at the media space, upgrading the wiring, and looking at all of that. We have a great new scoreboard. But the Lawson Center itself is 20 years old. Division I FCS program. And so we, through the 1887 strikes, what we're looking at right now is being able to, as I mentioned earlier in tonight's conversation, is looking at how we can pay cost of attendance, looking at how we can start to build, because coming out of Monday's decision, now NIL is coming to campus. And so we've got to build a fund. We did not, as some of our peers and our sister institutions within the league, they are already adding on talent fees and excellence fees to their season ticket packages, right? We would get there. We have to get there because that's where we're going, because we've got to be able to invest and participate in this game with everyone else as a Division I institution. And so that's where it's going. It's going to an excellent experience for our student athletes. Again, nutrition, looking at how we can have an impact on the experience through transportation, how we have an experience through what they're eating, what they're drinking, in terms of how they're sleeping on the road, how they're sleeping in Tallahassee. What is it that we're going to be able to do to be able to keep up with being competitive in the space, on and off the courts and fields and diamonds?
Is there a, and I put this challenge out earlier, I don't know if you caught it or heard it. I would love for Rattler Nation to really commit to making this the best ever giving year for FAMU Athletics.
Sure.
Is there a number? What is the, because I know you're a competitive person, I'm a competitive, we're all competitive people here because we live in the sports world. Is there a number that has been the previous high? Where can we set our sights on a number and try to blow that number out the water?
Absolutely. And so for the campaign, the overall goal is to increase by 800 more donors than that participated last year. And so that would take it up to, I believe, 3,300 or so. I believe they were just north of 2,500 last year for the numbers. FAMU Athletics has the trophy in terms of the area that raised the most money, and that amount was $70,000. I don't have the number of donors, but the amount that we raised was $70,000. Can we do 100?
Yeah.
Can we do 80?
Yeah.
Well, this is just in 1,887 minutes. We will come on the road, and we, in terms of doing the tour and bringing the coaches out, we will be at the NAA meeting. because this ongoing fundraising piece, we've got to increase our number of supporters, our number of fans, our number of season ticket holders, our number of, again, people that are coming in and giving in all facets and all forms. But for the next 2 days, right? 70,000 was last year's number. We want to keep the trophy and we want to raise the amount for sure.
And for those of you who are wondering how long 1,887 minutes are, I just did the math. It's about 30, almost just under 32 hours. So just over 31 hours, but just under 32. So
I think the time that I was given is 4 o'clock, like 4:47 or something along those lines is when the 1887 ends.
Okay.
Right, just below 4:50 p.m. on Friday.
Right. Okay.
But it will remain open. You can always give if you're traveling or if you are, just unable to get on, your internet goes out or what have you. This QR code and this link will remain active. And so it's never too late to give.
That part right there. Definitely, I know for some folks, even though it starts on Thursday, sometimes, payday's coming up on Friday for some folks. So that means Friday morning. That means, folks can wake, if you don't do anything Thursday, wake up Friday morning when the check clears and you take all of the other bills and the ACHs has gone through, go on and slide some money over to 1887, texting 71777, text FAMU Athletics to 71777. And that's FAMU Athletics, all one word, when you send that text.
And they can also use the QR code.
Right, the QR code there.
Take them straight to the donation page.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Kelvin, what else you got for our AD?
I know you have some new team members on. You're one person. You have a team behind you, and I know how hard they work. I know it's a lot high expectations, few people to do the work. But I know you're filling those roles that you need, and I know you still got some key ones out. You talking about fundraising, right? So just kind of tell me where you are right now in terms of your staff and your support staff and how that's going. And specifically, I would like to know, we talked about the donor side and the tickets and so forth, but I'm interested in the vision, any kind of plan for the corporate side.
And so the corporate space has changed tremendously, and we talked about that today. With it, what we used to talk about as it relates to, let's get some corporate sponsorships, and usually you would see the activation of those sponsorships through commercials and those kinds of things. Well, we all know now, if I'm riding in the car, because Davin and I are different, that's my boo, that's my baby. His Pandora has ads, and I have to remember when he is the DJ, I'm like, why is that a commercial? And so my Pandora does not have ads. And so as we think about that, right, the way we approach corporate sponsors and where we are today in terms of the sponsors that are going to invest in us, we've got to prove the eyes that are in the stadium. We've got to prove the numbers, like on tonight's show, that anytime that we get on and speak about FAMU Athletics, that the response that we get is in the thousands and that kind of, because that's where the new exposure is. And that's what we've got to be able to communicate to the sponsor. So go get a corporate sponsor. Where the corporate sponsor? Go get the corporate sponsors. We've got to have the infrastructure and the capacity to be able to renew the sponsorship once we get it the first time. Do we have enough staff that's able to go out and set up the activation on site? Did we sell enough tickets so that enough eyes and enough interaction and enough engagement was able to come through and see this brand that has invested in us. And then in our proof of performance, we're able to say, look, we overachieved, we over-delivered. Here are the numbers that we said that we thought we could do, but we actually did this. And we're talking about tens of thousands, right? We're not just talking about like 20 people that stop by the table.
Right.
We've got to be able to activate experiences for these brands because we're looking for hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking about needing to raise millions of dollars. And if sponsorships is it, the other thing that they're looking for is, well, what's your skin in the game? Tell me about your private donations. Tell me about what your fan base is giving. Tell me about that investment so that we can then tell our shareholders and we can then justify this contribution that we are partnering with an organization, an institution, if you will, that also has skin in the game and that is going to move our brand forward.
Gotcha. Again, let me throw it out there. The challenge has already been set in the chat. Mr. Campbell's already looking for 4 people to match. That 4 should be easy. I mean, we have almost 200 sets of eyes watching us. A lot of people will watch, pick up the show later tonight. They'll pick it up in the morning. There's a great opportunity again for all of you who are watching to donate. This is a great time. We talk about all that's happening for FAMU Athletics, and we want a lot, but now's the time where as the minimum of 1887 matters. But you can always give more, and that's where we're at. That's what we need to do this particular weekend. The challenge has been set. Over $70,000 is the goal, and keeping the trophy with FAMU Athletics. And again, I'm going to put up the information. You see the QR code there. If you look right almost in the middle of the screen, there's a big QR code. And so you can scan it on your phone. It'll take you to the FAMU Athletics 1887 Strikes page, the FAMU Foundation page, I believe, right?
Yes. And all of the teams will be added up to the FAMU Athletics trophy that everyone is going to and even for our HBCU cousins and sisters and brothers that are on the chat, come in. You can set it even to recurrent, because when we win, we all win. Amen. Right? And that's what this is all about, is making sure that, again, from the Division I perspective, because Auburn's new coach came from Norfolk State.
Yeah.
And so, we've got to make sure that we lay the foundation, that we move into this new space, that we understand what it takes to win, right? Whatever 40 that they were running in 1987, 1992, 1995, that 40 is not going to get it in 2025. Well, the same thing as it relates to the resources that we need to be able to provide to show the success that is necessary today. Mm-hmm. Remember, it used to take a day to download a picture.
Ooh, what?
Yeah.
So that, or maybe we couldn't even download a picture. We were running it on the carbon to copy things. And so as life has evolved, so has the responsibility and what's required, if you will, to succeed in Division I athletics.
Very well said. Very well said. A couple of other internal questions or thoughts. I know a question that came up in the chat that I also was going to ask. Can you give us an update or maybe a status on Rattlers Plus? Obviously, with the changeover, that may have been affected a little bit, but I know those of us who are part of the Rattlers Plus, we're excited to be able to get back to seeing softball and baseball at home. Can you give us an update on Rattlers Plus?
Absolutely. And so with that, again, we did have a little gap there, and that we have some technology opportunities, if you will, as it relates to softball and baseball, from a stat programming perspective. And so with Dennis coming on board, and he came to us from Alabama State. Before that, he was at Jackson State, and so he understands the conference, understands what's necessary, and we see that we have some SWAC awardee in this week's SWAC awards for softball, and that is large in part in terms of the knowledge and the understanding that he has. And so there is transition that's happening as it relates to softball and baseball stats for us from a technology perspective, and attention is there. I get it, because again, as a softball parent, I understand what the expectation is, because I'm utilizing that platform for our daughter as well. And so it is a priority. We are looking to bring solutions there, and we apologize to the fan base for the hiccups that we've had for the past couple of weeks, but we're on it for sure.
Gotcha. Next Saturday, I'm looking forward to being in Tallahassee. I'm sure many others who are watching, hopefully you all will come join me in Tallahassee for the orange and green game. We can call it the orange and green game because we'll be playing hopefully a good 11v11. What other kind of activities or things will be happening around the spring game that'll be taking place? And is Coach Colsey didn't want to commit to the time. He wanted us to leave that into your hands. So since we have you, do we have an official start time for the game on Saturday?
And so for the experience will start at 4 p.m. We are still working through, and you will have information on that, but the team will be there. You'll get to see definitely some scrimmage activity, and we'll be able to communicate what you're going to see there. Definitely a time for the fans to have a look and to meet our new coaching staff that's there. We will officially announce that roster here soon in its entirety, and just really taking a look at that. But again, it's fan engagement. We're going to take April 12th as the opportunity to hype the fans up, bring you out. This weekend, we have is boots on the ground. We're telling people not to put their boots up, because next weekend we have the line dance king himself coming in. We got the big flex that's going to happen. And so we'll do the flex line dance with Cupid, the line dance king himself, as he's self-proclaimed, to come on out and join us. The FAMU cheerleaders will be there. The Marching 100 will be there. And kind of like, again, a first look coming into the stadium. We want people to get their season tickets. Right now, we're in the space of renewals, but we want to bring in new fans as well to be able to sign up. And once renewal time has passed, to be able to assign new seats and the like. And so it'll be a good time. Rattler, we have an exciting schedule. The home games that we have Albany State coming into Bragg, Alabama State coming into Bragg, North Carolina Central, one of our former MEAC foes, is coming into Bragg. Alcorn we hadn't played Alcorn in decades. And so we're playing Alcorn for homecoming. Of course, we have Jackson State that's coming into Bragg. And so the energy is just going to be amazing. And so we're really, really excited about that.
Well, I got chill. I got a little chill. I just got to thinking about that schedule. Boy, I'm gonna have to hold off and reserve some weekends to get up there. Kelvin, you got any final questions there for AD Suggs?
I do know that there's some facility things that have been going on. Gaither Gym and some things at Bragg, and I'd like for you to just kind of talk about, some of those things, and then what are some of the facility goals moving forward.
Sure. And so we have a new floor in Gaither Gym. Excuse me. We have a new floor in Gaither Gym. It is heavy on volleyball, and but it does have basketball regulation lines in there, and so it will be a space that our basketball team can use for practice and shoot around and the like. But we're taking a look at the feasibility of being able to give our championship volleyball program a festive home, energetic home, one, because now those of us that know Gaither, we know Gaither. Gaither is, all of us have those Gaither memories where you're talking about energy just by walking in there. If the bricks could talk, right, on the walls. And so with that, we think it's a great space, but just really kind of taking a look at how we can activate it in today's environment, right? What would concessions look like? What we have the seating. It's a 3,300 seat venue, which even before Lawson, we were one of it. There are newer spaces that still have that same capacity. So we may have been ahead of our time back in the day, right? But in Bragg Stadium, we now have LED lighting. We're excited about that. And so that we'll activate that lighting system that we have in Bragg. But we do have some other things. Of course, we already know what y'all gonna do about the bathrooms. Well, we're not renovating the bathrooms at our house, right? That plumbing is the plumbing from the plumbing of the plumbing. And so if we rip something out, Kelvin, why haven't you told the people? If we do something to the plumbing in Bragg, that means we need to bring it up to code. So we're not talking about a couple of $1,000s. We're talking about millions just for bathrooms, right? And when you look at public funding is for public use and public benefit, public value. Public funds are not for maintenance. And I might get in trouble for saying that, but that's just what it is. That's the space that I've been in for the last 7.5 years. And so the funds that we give are for community impact. And so, what is it that we can take a look at? Is there something from, if we're in a food desert, could we put a sundry? You know what a sundry is? Could we put a sundry in the space, or some sort of convenience store or something of that magnitude that could then double as a concession space or something along those lines? Could we take a look at some type of, if you've been in Tallahassee, we're event space starved. We're the capital city, but there's not really a space where you can, not a lot of spaces where you can do a lot. So is there some more community space that we can put in there? And then you roll your, necessities into that. Accessibility resources, elevators, restrooms, and those kinds of things, right? You roll that into some sort of community use opportunities that you would have in the Holton Street community, in the Bond community, in the neighboring spaces that we are neighbors to. How can we provide value and impact as an institution through our athletic programs? Because again, that's what we would talk about in Florida, right? With the Florida Sports Foundation, Florida is where the world comes to play. Everything from World Cup to Women's Final Four and all of that, we're talking about sports, where sports becomes purple. Red and blue makes purple, and everyone can cheer for their same team, right? And so that's what we've got to do at FAMU. What is our value both on campus, right? How then do we create a product that allows millions of eyes at an evergreen perspective to know about our pharmacy program, our School of Business and Industry, our architecture program, our #1 public HBCU ranking, and all the other, that we are in the top 100 and how we are elevating and rising. Well, through sport. How then can we continue to increase our value that 350 plus student athletes are FTEs as it relates to the greater campus? And so that, that's where we're looking to go, but that's going to cost us something that is different from what we've cost, how we've costed it out before. And in closing out this particular, I guess, rant or statement or what have you, I share it with the staff, because when you say $10,000 for a bus, for a team to go play, turn around, come right back home. When you say $120,000 for a charter flight, and you say, "Oh, they just get on the bus," right? When you think about it in that way, we are in essence a $13 million program that really needs to be an $18 million program. Yep. And if you got a 13,000 square foot house, your light bill is $6,000 or more a month. Your property tax is about $25,000. It costs more to clean that 13,000 square feet. You got to go get you a Dyson vacuum cleaner, or 2 or 3 at $1,000 a piece, just to keep your wood floors clean, because they're going to collect dust over time, right? And those are costs just in keeping a house. Well, imagine a Division I program, 350 plus student athletes, that we promise their families that we're going to take care of them and that they're going to succeed and they're going to be leaders. We can't shortchange that.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey, do you know you just created the slogan when we get ready to reopen Bragg, the video that you can create, if these bricks could talk. You just created. I don't know if you caught that. I caught it, but when it's time to do the video to promote the reopening of athletic events in Gaither, there's your slogan with the history of all the events and things that have happened in Gaither. And that would be a hype video. I could see it now, but you said you've given the slogan. You said the slogan. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. There's a couple other questions in the chats. I didn't even know this was a thing. We will have for the game, as it relates to the spring game, we have both sides of the stadium open? Will there be concessions? Will our announcer be back? Can you touch on all three?
Sure. How soon the gates open?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And can't keep a tailgate.
Yes. People can tailgate. We will send out parking information by the end of this week. The campus pretty much is open. The information we're sending out is about Bragg in the Bragg Stadium parking lot. But we're welcoming everyone to come in. Right now, the gates are opening at 2 o'clock. I mean, it's 2 o'clock. At the latest, it would be 3. But right now, it's 2 o'clock. The gates are open. It is a ticketed event, which does include the post-game concert, which is again, it's going to be a great event. $20 for adults, $10 for children. The kids' tickets, or school-age kids, kindergarten through 12th grade, those are only available on game day. However, if you purchase 20 tickets or more, you can get the $10 kids price. Is the same price as the group price to come in. And so again, $20 for adults. Right now, we're opening the east side of the stadium, but hey, if we sell that out and we need to go over to the west side, we'll open that up as well. In the north end zone area, it won't be the north end zone club, but we do have $60 stage side seats because the concert will happen from the north end zone platform. And so the north end zone platform is where the concert will take place. And we will have tables alongside where Cupid will perform, but you can sit down there the entire game. It'll, there'll be food and beverage there. Those tickets are $60 to sit there. And yes, B. Dot is still our announcer. And so he will be there. And it starts at 4:00 is the start time on that. We are planning the experience to be a 4:00 start. And by 7:30, we'll be out of there.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right. And it will be televised. Will it be streaming available?
It will not be streamed.
Okay.
The Revolution will not be televised. You can come and take a look at what we have. We're just in a different day, right? Orange and green game back in the day, you had to come and see, and it stayed in the space.
Yes.
Where we are right now, we've got to just kind of take a look at it.
So for those of y'all in the chats and watching, you want to come see FAMU, you got to come pay to see it. You want to scout early. You want to see what 2025 is going to be like. You got to come pay to see it. We're not going to put it out there on streaming. So there you go. I love that. I'm okay with that. It makes me want to get in the car and come up to Tallahassee even more now.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, 80 Suggs, you've been wonderful. Appreciate your time. Thank you for everything, all that you do, all of your transparency, all of the interviews. I love the media tour that you did a few weeks back. It was enlightening, and I hope that it was beneficial in many ways and many different ways, and that it created the kind of contacts among the diaspora and maybe even Rattlers. And what I love is that Rattlers who are, we'd love to think every Rattler watches our show, but we're realistic. There are hundreds and thousands of Rattlers out there, and being in many places gets the message across. So meet them where they are, and we love that. We love that. So just want to say that was good. Always, and I think I learned something new on every appearance. That's also what was kind of refreshing as well. And I know that can be challenging when you do a media tour like that, but I think that was positive. So that kudos, props to you on that.
Thank you so much.
Again, one more reminder to everybody: text FAMU Athletics to 71777. We can begin giving now. 1,887 minutes beginning at midnight, going for just over 31 hours until sometime 4:00 in the afternoon. Mr. Campbell has already put the challenge out. I saw at least one person agree to it to match.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, you can start now. You can start giving now. You can start texting now. You can scan the QR code and go to a page. You can donate to athletics. You can donate to a sport. Whatever you want to do, you can do it now. Don't wait. We're trying to break the record. This is going to be an amazing year of FAMU Athletics, and you all are going to be a part of it by being a part of the 1887 Strikes campaign. Donate now. I think I covered it, right?
Yes. Thank you so much, Bryan. Thank you so much, Kelvin. Shout out Daha. And we're good.
Thank you,
right.
AD.
Thank you. Enjoy the weekend in Tampa. You made me realize that, instead of sitting at home, I might need to roll to Tampa and come see some women's basketball this weekend. So I appreciate that little nugget of reminder as well.
Sure,
should be some great games. So, all right. Take care of yourself. Be well. Safe travels. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Good night, you guys.
All right. Good night.
All righty.
All right.
Hey, Bryan, I'm sorry. I got to leave. I hadn't even unpacked yet. I got some stuff I need to take care of. So,
well, it's all good. You know what? I'm gonna let you go because Ashley's checking in. So I'm gonna pick her ear for a few minutes, And then I'm just up talking, man. See, this is what happened when you leave me by myself with nothing but just me.
Enjoy,
Yeah,
because
see,
it
look
won't
at
be
you.
that
Hold on.
way this week.
I'm gonna look. I see that. Look, let me transition. I'm gonna let you go, Kelvin. I'm gonna talk to Ashley. So, Kelvin, be well. We'll talk
Peace
offline.
out. All right, Ash, what's happening?
All right. So we transition. Ashley, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Oh man, look, I'm just here talking, listening.
Bryan, you got
opening my mouth.
you on the road. You got guest after guest. You got a little marathon going, right?
Look, I'm trying to hype up 18 to 1887 strikes as best as possible. I can think of as many ways and graphics as I can throw out there. I'm trying to do it. I think I've hit on.
That's highly important.
I think I've hit on every sport thus far. I think I mentioned tennis. I mentioned golf was off this weekend, but I think they are back on the course going up to Nashville next week. So that's happening. We got this, had Gerald on earlier talking about the spring practice. How are things happening? What's happening with FAMU Exchange? What's the latest? The world of NIL continues to bewilder us all. What are some of your takeaways from the space and the challenges and the world of NIL that you deal with on a regular?
Well, first of all, shout out to our AD, lovely AD, who was just on, and Kelvin and you, and all the Rattlers and in the chat. But NIL is exactly what we see. Oddly enough, we've been preaching about NIL, for a while now, and how it's kind of gotten to the point where it started out and it was kind of might have been an FBS level thing, and then it just slowly, just like most things, trickles to every level. So we're it's in our forefront from an HBCU FCS level. Then you have like the house settlement that is revenue sharing, which is another thing that will come to the space. So what we're seeing and what we've all been talking about is how many athletes are entering into the portal and looking to take advantage of NIL opportunities, or maybe even rev share that will come around in the fall. So it's kind of not surprising to me because I already saw it coming, as I probably would have, because I kind of was researching it and learning about it and talking about it, how many months last year, this time, if not sooner. So it's not a surprise. I will say that I'm probably when we talk about generationally and how many of us don't understand the thought process of an athlete who chooses to get in the portal, whether they do or don't have the stats, the loyalty factor of being at a certain school, but we just have to accept that students are not of the mindset that they were when many of us were in school. Many of us, even as an athlete, you didn't have an opportunity to just get in the portal and transfer as often as you would like. So that's a freedom that's now, presented to athletes. And then you bring in the NIL, the NIL aspect of it that kind of compounds on top of the freedom that you can't just move. Because it's one thing to just be able to move from a school to another. It's another thing to be able to move to a school in anticipation of potentially getting some type of funds based on, your value and your marketability. So it all is just compounding. I think because the floodgates opened at once, it just feels overwhelming and a lot to people, to anyone who just is not used to it. But it's honestly where we are. And it'll probably compound even more as rev share happens, as more scholarships open up for those who decide to opt in, and as more NIL dollars flow into and out of these different schools and conferences. So that's where we are. I mean, it's kind of, I'm a proponent of change, like just quite naturally in my natural life. So change doesn't really bother me. Like, I'm okay. It's change. It's different. I know it's different. I'm not that high in age, but I'm old enough to have lived through the different phases of athletics and sports and the business of sports and just life in general. So it just comes with the territory.
Yeah. What is the balance when you think about the collective and what you've you and your team and have created with FAMU Exchange? What does the balance look like with the house settlement and what universities can provide? Because again, we all operate off of the fact that NIL collectives were created because universities couldn't do.
Right.
So now that universities can do, what is the balance in the future looks like of whether it be the Fang Exchange or collectives like that, or just collectives in general in university?
Well, if we, like you said, if we think about it, collectives were created out of a need to administrate and have the control, not the control is not the right word, but in order to make sure that we operated and processed what NIL was, because like you said, universities could not have any involvement. Thank you, Mr. Chuck Hunt. Good evening to you. But now that the rules evolve weekly, monthly, quarterly, daily, almost, you get to the point where we've evolved so much that we've gone from universities not having any involvement abilities to now being able to do house settlement and even pulling NIL deals and work NIL from a university perspective. So to me, the balance, and I've seen it happen both ways. We've already seen it at other levels in different universities where some of the universities are doing away with their collectives and keeping it all in house. If the capacity is there, the funds are there, and the ability to do it is there. Other universities are kind of doing both, and I don't see an issue with either. If I'm just being transparent, there's no issue with either. It's really about, if we're doing this the right way, we're doing it for the betterment of the program and the university and athletic department, and we're doing it for overall the betterment and experience of the student athlete, right? So what's the best experience that we as a university can offer our student athletes that we recruit, that we retain, and that we just want to stay? So what does that look like for us? Well, that's something that each university will have to decide. So I've seen it both ways, and the balance is literally what works for you. And that might be like a cliche response, but it's the reality of it. Some universities will be able to support their own, whatever that means, and others won't. So no matter what, NIL is still relevant, although revenue sharing it will come into the picture. And if we really know the truth from a dollar distribution standpoint, FBS will start it out. So for us, we're FCS. So we'll still need to figure out what that means for us. And AD just said it a few minutes ago. The landscape is changing in the university athletic department is working on what it means to FAMU specifically, but it'll probably be similar across FCS and even HBCU athletic departments. So there is a balance. It requires collaboration and understanding and making sure that overall that everybody does what's best for the program, the department, and the student athletes.
I saw Jimmy Mack's question here.
Okay.
It had a different thought, but is there restrictions or limitations that a collective can have related to length of time? Or if there is or is not, does Fang Exchange operate with any sort of time table? Like when you enter into agreements with student athletes, are there time links that they have to, you have to do X, Y, and Z for a certain period of time? Or is it just a school year? Is it a school season? How can you answer to Jimmy's question just in general?
So it does vary. Everyone, again, it's the marketability, so it does vary. And yes, time factors are oftentimes put into any type of agreement with the student athlete. So it could be semester to semester. A lot of them are on an annual basis. Most student athletes will be in a program or with the school for a year. So, but sometimes athletes may only have one semester left. So you operate in that manner. So in that instance, that's what you do. So you do put a time frame on it, and there are deliverables that are required because they have to do something in order to, receive the funds. We're not just, necessarily passing out dollars. You do something in exchange, whether it's promote the show, promote Fang Exchange, where Fang Exchange has an opportunity to collaborate with businesses, which can be done. And that's kind of the focus that we're moving more and more towards. It's always been one of our missions and points of business, but to lean into the business. So when a business decides and says, hey, I would like to promote my product through a Florida A&M athlete, they can either determine that it will be a specific athlete that they may like, or maybe someone that we collaborate on and say, hey, this is a good athlete for your product, or this is a good fit from a marketability standpoint. And yes, so there are deliverables and there are time frames, but they aren't all equal. So it doesn't mean athlete A might get a certain time frame, athlete B might get a different one. At our level, we try to be as consistent as possible and fair. But again, NIL is about name, your image, and your likeness. So that's marketability, and everybody's marketability really does vary.
That last part right there. I go. That's another part that you made me think about something. I think about all these people jumping in the portal. All these kids don't have marketability.
Right.
I mean, I'm so conflicted about this whole thing. I mean,
it can be conflicting. It can be conflicting when you look at the reality of the way things are happening. When you look at the true definition of NIL, because again, we know what rev sharing is. Rev sharing is rev sharing. NIL is from a marketability standpoint. So there are a lot of people who are conflicted or say, hey, this doesn't make sense, or how this person doesn't have marketability. They only have 25 followers on Twitter or X. So how are they marketable? So it just depends. And that's also something that we do, is that we like to figure out working ways on how we can help you become more marketable, because you can become more marketable. All of us has an online presence of some sort, some type of influence. Hopefully it's a good one, but there's some type of influence. So that's all this is about, is essentially influencer marketing. And if you see people who go from 0 followers to 10,000, 100,000 followers, it's because they presented themselves in a way online and publicly that they became marketable. Everybody starts somewhere. So yes, you should be marketable, and you should have, there are some things that you should check off, some boxes you should check off through NIL if we're going to do it the way it was presented to be done.
So many thoughts here. As it relates to obviously basketball, and we've seen what we've seen. Have you had conversations with well, first off, did you have the FAMU Exchange has any relationships with any, whether it be men or women's players, basketball players this past season?
We actually did. We had one relationship with one basketball athlete, Olivia Delancey, who's actually in the portal. Okay. So we had a relationship with her. We were looking to increase that number, which we still are, to be honest, because we're always looking to increase the number of representation for our athletes. So we did have one. No men's basketball players. There was another organization that was kind of handling that. What I will say is that we've been in communication with our men's basketball coach. So there may be some things differently in the future. Can't really say at the moment. But we did have a relationship with an individual who Olivia Delancey, who has decided to enter the portal this last portal cycle.
Right.
So the good thing is that, even if I kind of compound on that, and this may be a question for you, anytime an athlete decides to no longer be associated with the department, whether for whatever the reason is, the contract or the agreement is voided. Okay. So, and that's just quite naturally, if you have to be careful, because sometimes athletes get money up front, and then they leave, and then it's kind of like, what happens there? So, there are ways you can protect yourself and your organization from those instances. And if we're being honest, we aren't doing the level of NIL/contract compensation that you might see at other levels. And that's something else that I want to make sure that our constituents make sure that they grasp, is that the level, the headlining NIL deals and the headlining NIL opportunities are not that of, that's not us. Would we like it to be us? Maybe one day, but it's not today. So that's another part of a transparency, is that that's not us. So we don't want people to think, oh, somebody's getting $1 million deal. Well, that's not the reality for us. We're doing this, and the student athletes understand that too.
Well, let's just talk about peer-to-peer.
Okay.
Because whether it be other HBCUs or mid-majors, and I'm going here in two different aspects, because and I've talked about this on the last couple shows. The presence of whether it be revenue sharing or NILs have been very prevalent in men's basketball. When you look at who the top 4 or 5 teams are, when you saw the top 4 or 5 teams in that semifinals, all of those programs are either cost of attendance, revenue share, or NIL collective.
NIL.
Out there, right? I don't think that's a hidden secret. And then when I also, and I think when Liv had posted very recently, as today, some of the, I call them lateral moves from HBCU to a mid-major. You know, I'm scratching my head wondering, okay, well, what is apples? What you know, because I know when you talk about there's apples and oranges when you talk about some of those top names, right? But let's just talk oranges. I mean, we you know, what is this? I don't even know if the right question is saying what is the market per player, per collective, per group. Just however you want to answer that question, like what is our comparative? I don't know if you're right saying who are we chasing, who are we trying to keep up with? Are we trying to get to a point? Do you feel like you, Fang Exchange, are trying to get to a point where you are sort of being the organization that's can be out towards the front? Or I'm just a flurry of thoughts and questions here. So I apologize that I'm not more direct with it. So just take it wherever you want to go with what I just rambled off there. I'm sorry about that.
Well, when you say apples to apples, apples to oranges thing, right? So apples to oranges is an easy comparison and understanding. When you say apples to apples and you see maybe some athletes leave an HBCU and go lateral to a mid-major and some people are like, well, that, you know, they're trying to make sense of the move because it makes 100% sense if you go from HBCU to Duke, to the ACC, to the SEC. It makes that's the easy understanding. But what I'll say is that all collectives and university budgets are not created equal. And we know that, but we have to really take that into consideration. And size of a university or school or fan base does not always equate to the budget of a collective. So we have to remember that there's a potential. I'm not in the pockets and in the business decisions of these individuals who decide to go to a different institution, but there's a potential that the individual might be receiving scholarship value, might be receiving cost of attendance value, NIL value that makes sense to them. Another thing to keep in mind when we're talking about just strictly individuals who transfer out of our programs is that everybody literally has a different reason. There are probably buckets, and you can say, all right, here's one bucket. NIL might be one bucket. Nutrition might be the other one. Exposure might be another bucket. There are different reasons. And some people can say, oh, well, two of those 5 reasons are the reason I decided, to transfer out. So I will say it's not always financially motivated, although it likely is. So we have to keep those things in mind. Every athlete, I always say this about athletes. I was an athlete myself, so I get it. Every athlete has to have this uncanny level of confidence in themselves to think, hey, I'm good enough to get to the next level. Right. And we know that that's not the case when you talk about probability and the percentage of people who make it to the NBA, the NFL, MLB, and all the different professional leagues. But as an athlete and a young athlete who's kind of transitioning into adulthood, you have this uncanny confidence, sometimes even arrogance of like, I'm good enough to compete with whomever and get to the next level. So they may view that as an opportunity to transfer out. But if we're talking strictly NIL, all NIL collective budgets aren't created equal. And that's the apples to apples response, because sister institutions at our level different. Some of our institutions don't have any type of NIL offerings, and then some do. So it really just varies, and it depends on what the athlete is looking for and how well we recruit them. What type of experience do we give them as a university? What type of scholarship do we offer? All of those things really do play into what is in the best interest of the student athlete. And you have to remember that these student athletes also are being advised by agents oftentimes and parents who aren't always advising sometimes in the best manner, because you can say, oh, your stats aren't, don't indicate that you should leave. Maybe you should stay a year and build up your stats if you really do want to leave. Or are you marketable? Why are you going to a school that doesn't appear to have so we could just sit here and go and come up with all types of scenarios, if we're being honest, about why a student leaves and compare apples to apples. But just like FAMU has an amazing business school, but a school in the same conference may not, it's kind of the same thought process of, from an NIL perspective. Some offer it, some don't within our conference. Some offer more than others. And then all those things come into play.
Okay. EA wants to know about anonymous questionnaires to transfers who are going out. Have you put anything like that together? And again, that's just in general. Obviously, every young student athlete who's hit the portal, and I showed the roster of 17 basketball players who have hit the portal, men and women
that's
combined.
so unbelievable, right?
I mean, man, 17. I mean, jeez. But I don't know. Is there anything that you considered? Are you putting something like that together? I don't know.
So what I will say is, last year, as it pertains to football, it wasn't anonymous. I actually had one-to-one conversations with quite a few of those who had decided to enter the portal. And that's how I know that the reason that people enter the portal really does vary. Although it's likely, scholarship, NIL motivated, but there are so many other variations and variables that come into play with this. So yes, we can institute anonymous questionnaires. We could, but that probably is something that the athletic department should do. The coaches, which I'm pretty sure if they're having exit interviews and the student is actually coming and having conversations about their decision to get into the transfer portal, that I'm almost positive a coach and or athletic department would make sure that they understand that. Now, I have done it because there have been opportunities where we can kind of retain some individuals who may be interested but are on the fence, maybe want to, whatever the reason. So I've done it in instances, and we, in those instances, we will pursue it, but we don't just do it just because the student athlete decides to get in the portal, because that's kind of would be us overstepping the authority of the athletic department.
Gotcha. My last question or thought is: is the NIL space among collectives getting to a point where you think these? And oftentimes, I see the evaluations being reported, but then again, I mean, evaluation. That's what some third party is saying your value is worth versus the reality. Are we getting to a point in the NIL business where somebody is saying that, hey, we need to start making these numbers transparent. We need to start making these numbers visible, and whether it's, I don't know if it's necessarily actually saying that, hey, how much is this kid getting? But at least being able to, are you able to ascertain what the market is for HBCU kids or other collectives, or is that information out there?
When you say market, we honestly just aren't in the market of other programs. Typically, most likely larger programs. So market wise, what we pay a power forward, what we may be able to give to a power forward at FAMU won't compare to what someone can give a power forward at Marquette, for example, or Marshall, because I don't want to keep doing these major differences in apples and oranges, kind of come closer to home. Or Marshall or Georgia Southern, comparable, close type size schools, although they may be FBS, but kind of on the closer to us end of FBS type of, or even just some FCS schools. So it still boils down to, again, the budget and what a collective can do as far as what's in the budget. But with that being said, when we've had member meetings where we've given, we may not give a name, but we've given out, hey, this is what we've been able to, and that's the benefit of being a part of FANG Exchange and getting some insider information in that manner. it's pretty standard. Again, we're based on budget, right? We're not going to give an athlete something that we don't have, or it's just unrealistic anyway, and you get into trouble if you go down that road. So I've heard rumblings of what other collectives around have given. Not sure, not necessarily sure if it's accurate, but I've heard rumblings. We do know what we desired. We love to give, figures that are comparable to other schools, because that helps us retain, right? Especially if it's one of those athletes that are looking for a certain dollar figure a month. Now, does that mean that we go out and overextend ourselves and get unrealistic from a business to a business? And although it's not a business necessarily where we sell products per se, but it's a business where we have to function as a business and make sure that we are not overextending ourselves on what we can and cannot do. So I don't know if I'm answering your question in the right manner. If I'm not, I'll definitely, expound more. But just from the perspective of, I haven't seen where at any level anyone has disclosed a specific athlete's amount. Like you see the valuations, and somebody say athlete A has a valuation of $3.4 million, or a valuation of $120,000 even. That's oftentimes based on all the things, and it's a mix. But I do think that there will come a time where you see market values similar to what you see at the professional level. A running back is worth X amount of dollars. A quarterback is worth this amount of dollars. I do think we'll get there, especially with the rev share come down the pipeline, because rev share and NIL are two different things, right? And I hope we understand that too. So because they're two different things, rev share, I do think that there will be some more market standards when it's time to say, hey, I want to recruit this quarterback, or I want to recruit this point guard, and this is what the valuation should look like for what they do and what they bring to the table, whether, for those different things. But to pretty much sum it up, I haven't seen where there's been I don't know, a database or a spreadsheet that says, hey, these are all the athletes that are in this particular collective, and this is literally the dollar figure that each athlete will receive. Now, I don't think there's an issue, because there's nothing to hide in that perspective. Like, it's not necessarily a secret, but I don't think it's just being offered up either, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's a part of it. As a collective, you want to be transparent. You want to make sure people know where their money, the ones giving to it, the businesses who decide to be sponsors of the program, of the organization to market, those kind of things really do happen. So we do it all. We've done it through our member meeting, and we'll continue to do it through that manner as well.
All right. Go ahead and promote again, fangexchange.com. Let people know what they need to know, how they can support, how they can be a part of FAMU's first NIL collective.
Right. So Fang Exchange is here to literally foster the environment for NIL. We have an amazing athletic department. We have an AD that you all just had an opportunity to learn more about. She's been on her different tours, giving out her level of expertise about this overall space and environment. And we're here to make sure that we assist our student athletes. And you see the website right here at the bottom of the screen. You're more than welcome to go to the website and get all the information. You can become a member. You can give a one-time donation. You can also, if you're a business, highly encourage you to give us some information through our email, which is info@FangExchange, or sponsorships at Fang Exchange. And all this information is on the website through contact, because we would like to talk with you. You may have a product that will benefit. Your business will benefit from the promotion through one of our student athletes. Think about these athletes who play in football games and basketball games, softball games, baseball games, tennis, and all the sports, and the reach that they may have through their social media platforms and through their personal platforms. So with that in mind, we are looking to partner with some of our businesses to go ahead and help, take your business to the next level through promotion, in which we have done in the past, and we want to continue to do that and build on that when that money directly supports student athletes. So we don't keep dollars outside of administrative fees like website upkeep and the small things, and it's actually minimal, to be honest, to maintain from that perspective. The rest of it goes back to the athletes, and that's our ultimate goal. Our only desire is to make sure that we can compensate our athletes and ultimately retain them.
Well said. All right. Again, fangexchange.com, guys. I know it's a lot going on, but there's always time to be a part of this NIL collective. And so, Ashley, man, I appreciate you taking some time out this late evening and checking in. And,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Are you going to make your way to Tallahassee next Saturday for the Orange and Green game?
Oh, you know it. I'm actually here now.
Okay.
That's kind of what had me on traveling. So I'm in Tallahassee right now. We've had an opportunity to assist our spring training with some breakfast. So we've been kind of heading that effort, and I'm here for that. And I will be back. I'm going to travel back, but I will be back again, and I will be attending the spring game. So we have to figure out how we're going to do. We need to do another group podcast show for our spring game review. Similar to what we did for the schedule release. So
yeah, I like the idea. And hopefully I can be available to join you guys. You guys
yeah,
had so much fun. And you did such a good show. I was jealous. I was like, oh man, I was so mad I couldn't.
You missed a good time, Brian. You missed a really good time. But hey,
I enjoyed listening to you guys. You guys did a great job. You guys did a great job. So, all right, well, hey, get some rest and enjoy the time. I look forward to catching some highlights. Oh, you know what? I'll hit you up offline about it. It had to do about Pro Day, but I'll ask you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And we'll talk about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Later. All right. Take care, Ashley.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks up.
All right, folks. Well, again, what a loaded show, man. I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Gerald Thomas earlier, VP Angela Suggs, Ashley Coleman, Fang Exchange. Again, want to remind everybody the 1887 Strikes tour starts in less than an hour, midnight, running until Friday about 4:40 something in the afternoon, 1,887 minutes. You can donate directly to athletics by texting FAMU Athletics to 71777. That's 71777. And let's be a part of breaking a record, over 80 Suggs would being nice to say over 70. I think we should be able to get over 100,000 in direct donations to FAMU Athletics between all of us who's listening. And if we continue to share our show, whether it be the Fangs Up podcast, the 220 Club, whatever it is that you're absorbing related to FAMU and FAMU Athletics, this is the opportunity to kind of put some teeth behind it. Let's increase the number of donors. Let's increase the number of dollars given. Okay, two different things, but both of them very important. And so I'm encouraging all of you, and I'm going to tweet out from all of our social media accounts. And actually, I've already did that. This very graphic, but I want you to share it. I want you to share it with some rappers. Share it with your social media page. Put it on your Facebook, Instagram, your Twitter, X, Blue Sky. What's the other one on IG, your Threads? Put it everywhere, all of your accounts, so that Rattlers near and far know that they can be a part of this movement that is FAMU Athletics. So appreciate you guys for all doing that. Appreciate everyone who hit the thumbs up and the like button wherever and however you're watching the show. Just a quick rundown of what's happening in FAMU Athletics for this upcoming week. You've got tennis, women's tennis again right now. Currently within the SWAC, we are 2 games out of first place with an overall record of 5-2. Jackson State is in first. They are 7-0. That's who, unfortunately, we lost to 4-3 over the weekend. But we take on Grambling State. We're traveling. The ladies should be on the road traveling to Grambling State for an 11 o'clock Eastern match. And then they will return home on Saturday and take on Bethune-Cookman. And I believe that is the season finale, regular season finale. Don't hold me to that, but I believe that is the case. Again, FAMU baseball and softball Both of them are taking on Jackson State this weekend, but in different locations. Baseball will be home. So at Moore Kittles Field, our first place baseball team will be hosting Jackson State this weekend. Our first place softball team would be traveling to Jackson. First pitch on Friday for both games are 5 o'clock Eastern. Game one should be an outstanding match softball. Jackson State's pitcher, she and Zoriana Hughes, as well as Amari Brown. No shade to Amari Brown, but Amari is one of the top pitchers in the SWAC, right there with Zoriana Hughes. And so I don't know whether it be Amari or whether it be Zoriana who will step into the circle for game one. But I really love our chances this weekend traveling to Jackson State. Again, both teams sitting, there's the softball standings again. Both teams are sitting practically neck and neck, first place in the East Division. I think we're only a half a game up because one of Jackson State's games in a 3-game series got postponed. So this series will create a little separation for somebody. But again, Jackson State may lead the conference in batting. We're third, by the way. But it's the pitching. We are number 1 in the conference in pitching, and I believe we are number 2 in fielding. So that is a clear separation from Jackson State. But, the pitching's got to show up, the fielding's got to show up, and the batting has been pretty good. So I like our chances. And plus, losing to Jackson State in the championship might have left a sour taste in a few ladies' mouths. So it'll be fun. I know Jeremiah Clark. Jeremiah Clark says at least. Hey, well, yes, if you want to pay whatever it is that they're charging at Jackson State to watch, you can do that. So yes, the streams will be working. It will cost you to watch it. So you might, if you want to save some money, follow along on live stats. There you go. But if you do want to support Jackson State in any way, not going to discourage it, you can go ahead and pay to watch the game. I don't know. Jeremiah, is there a weekend series pass? I mean, y'all be charging per game. Is there like a weekend pass, or is it a day game by game pass? Be good to know. But anyway, that's so first pitch, 5 o'clock Eastern for softball, 5 o'clock for women. It's a 3-game series for both. And then I think I'm just going to pull up the composite schedule here. Golf will take place in the golf team will be traveling to Nashville for the TSU Big Blue Invitational beginning on Monday, April 7th and April 8th. And I believe bear with me here for a quick second, because when I go to look at golf, I think when you look at standings or when you just look at results, let me see. The defending champs are Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think us and Arkansas Pine Bluff, FAMU and Arkansas Pine Bluff are the 2 top golf programs in the SWAC right now. Coach Rice, we had him on a couple of weeks ago. He was being nice and saying that they were ducking us. They weren't ducking us, but I'm going to say they were ducking us. And they will be at this event, if I'm not mistaken. I was told that they will be there. So it'll be a good opportunity to see how we stack up against UAPB. And then, of course, we will see them probably a week or 2 later. Matter of fact, the following week for the men's golf SWAC championship in Birmingham the following week. So it's the last tune-up before the SWAC championship. And again, another shout out to Amari Brown, co-hitter of the week in the SWAC. So shout out to Amari, one of those young ladies that, along with Sam Smith, they do it on both ends. They pitch well and they hit well. That's another reason why I like our chances. I think our our top three pitchers, Zoriana, Amari, and Samantha, are solid. All three of them. So I like our chances in both series. Not guaranteeing a sweep, but I think we stand a good chance in all three cases. So, all right, I am going to officially get ready to log off. It's been a long night, but a fun night. I enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. And thank you for joining the show. Thanks again to the great guests that tuned in. I'm sorry that you didn't get to hear from Marcus, but he is doing well. He's just a busy guy right now. And I know Marcus had prepared some graphics for me, which unfortunately I didn't get to show, but I will make the point of showing them next week. And you saw Kelvin. He popped in for a minute. He was traveling, got in off the road to be a part of the interview with AD Suggs. And he will hopefully be on next Wednesday. You've been watching the O&G Strike Zone right here on the Black College Sports Network. Download any of the former shows. The podcast is available on the BCSN Pod Zone, available everywhere that you listen to podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Just search BCSN Pod Zone, all of the shows that air on the Black College Sports Network. You can listen/watch them. You can also make sure if you sign up with our YouTube page, our Facebook page, you can always watch replays of the show in that form or fashion. So I need the family to go ahead and share the show with somebody. Hit the thumbs up and the like button as you head out the door. And again, I want to encourage you all to have a great week. Let's stay supportive of our Rattlers, and let's be a part of the 1887 Strikes Tour. And let's be a part of the giving that is taking place over the next 1,887 minutes, beginning at midnight Eastern, April 3rd, running through Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock, 4:30, 4:45, somewhere in there. All right. That's going to do it for tonight's show, I promise. You guys be well, be safe. Things up, and let's make sure to strike, and strike again. Peace out, everybody.